Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning, a football Friday. All right, we don't have games, but we got a ton of coaches talking football, so we're going to count it as a football Friday. We've got Utes, we got Cougars. We're going to start with the University of Utah. We're going to start with a guy who I think is really interesting, Chad Bumphis. Now, Chad played at Mississippi State, tried the NFL, was on some practice squads, Dolphins, Broncos, Jaguars. Launched the coaching career in 2016, was a graduate assistant for Utah in 2018. He was the Utes wide receiver coach in 21 and 22. Went to Mississippi State to coach where he played, and now he is back. Can he turn this receiver group into something more than it has been for more than a decade now? Maybe going back to that 08 group, that was a pretty potent group of guys. Here's Chad Bumphis talking with the media.
Coach, you recently said this is the deepest wide receiver room you've ever been a part of. How do you sort through that? What are you looking for in your guys to sort, how to feed the room?
Yeah, it's a good problem. Got a lot of guys that can play, a lot of talented guys that deserve to be on the field. So camp will work itself out, right? We'll go through camp, see who continues to make plays, who continues to grow every day, and we'll make a decision as a staff at how we rotate the guys. There's going to be a lot of guys that play, but it's just a matter of how we get them on the field, what position we put them in so they can be successful.
Obviously, you guys are only 2 practices in, but who, from your assessment, has made the biggest jump from spring till now?
The first name that jumps out is Tobias. I didn't get to see him in spring, so this is the first time I've seen him play football. I know what he is off the field. He's been a great leader for us, but to see him on the field run and actually make those plays has been awesome. Nate Johnson's done a really good job. Creed's making strides, taking steps. So, again, it's a competitive room. I feel like if you don't take those steps every day, you get left behind. And coming out of the summer, that's what I've heard from the strength staff. They're all competitive. They all work. So we're excited about all of them. But Tobias is the first name that jumps off just because I've never got to see him play.
You have a lot of guys in the offense that are kind of Swiss Army knife kind of dudes. You mentioned Nate Johnson. I'm sure Bird will be doing a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Just obviously when you have a packed wide receiver room, how do you also find ways to utilize those other guys out on the perimeter that have multiple skill sets like a Nate Johnson or a Bird or et cetera?
Yeah, again, the more you can do, right? You have guys that can obviously play in the slot, play out wide, but you also have guys who, the Creeds, the Nates, you can line them up in the backfield and whether you're handing them the ball, letting them throw it a little bit. But, again, the more you can do, and, again, we just go out throughout the entire fall camp and, figure out what each guy can do, how can you add value, how can you make yourself valuable. And, again, the more you can do, the easier it is to get on the field in a loaded room.
Devin took a lot of the wide receivers down to Arizona with him to train. How important is that for you as a coach to be able to see somebody like that? And is that rare for a quarterback to do something to that level to help the connection with the receiver?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been more of an NFL thing, but it just goes to the buy-in, right? They all want to be successful. They all want to make plays for us. So just to see them all get together, and again, it's their vacation month, right? So a lot of guys are hanging out, but they took it upon themselves. They wanted to go out and get some work and get better. So all for it, man. I love it. And again, it just shows that this is important to us. We want to win. We want to be one of the top offenses in the country. So it takes that, especially with some of the option routes we do. That takes a lot of off-season work, right? You got to be on the same page with the quarterback. So taking that ownership and doing it on your own is huge for us.
Since returning to campus, what have you seen from Zipper?
I love Zip. Zip's good. Zip is very, very twitchy. He has great hands. Zip's biggest thing right now is just making sure he can stay healthy, right? Because when he's full go, he's one of the best guys in that room, and you've seen it here. So that's his biggest thing right now. I love having Zip around. He's a football player, right? He just gets it. He understands it. And he's one of those guys that just wants to do well. So excited for him. Just got to get him healthy and keep him healthy. And we should be able to see Zip make some plays.
As a receivers coach, what do you like about Kevin McGivern's offense?
It's wide receiver friendly. Again, if you can create separation, if you can go out and win your matchups, you're going to get a ton of looks, right? You're going to be put in positions to do things that we've seen you consistently do well over time. And, again, he's going to find ways to get those guys the ball in space. And now it's about just going out being special. Do what's gotten you to this point, right? We're going to put you in places where there's mismatches. You have the matchup advantage. Go beat the guy across from you, and let's go make plays.
There's Utah wide receivers coach Chad Bumphis. Let's switch to the other side of the ball and hear from Utah's new defensive coordinator, the former linebacker coach, now running the entire defense, Colton Swan.
Morgan was talking about how he's maybe not, I guess, looking over your shoulder, and you have, the freedom to put your own spin on the defense. Well, it's still going to be a, kind of scale of Utah defense. What are kind of the spins that you've put on it so far?
Well, without getting into exact details, each coordinator has our own ways of doing things and liking things. There's different coverages and run fits that we apply and the way that we like things. So without, like I said, giving you too much in detail, we all we're doing some pretty cool stuff, and I think our guys are really buying into what we got going. This defense has been in place for a long time here at the University of Utah and has been very good. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind as a coordinator is if it's working and it is providing very good production and it's not broken, then don't try to fix something that's not broken. So as a coordinator, you got to be smart with that, but at the same time, you want to have your own spin on things and really looking for ways to improve things where things maybe broke down in the past.
You've got a lot of talent on the defensive side, but there's a lot of competitions in many position groups. As a defensive coordinator, how are you balancing trying to get guys there as fast as you can so that you can get those set versus just trying to make sure that you do it right and trying to get the right guys in the right spot?
Yeah, you got to be creative as a coordinator for sure, because you can have a plethora of guys in different positions that can all play, and getting your best 11 out there is definitely something that you're always constantly thinking of, because it is all about the players. It's all about them over scheme, and so you got to be creative, find different ways to utilize that. And to constantly be massaging your personnel. But I do know this so far in camp, through 2 practices, it's been extremely competitive with those that you're mentioning and how talented we are on the defensive side, which is a good thing. It makes it harder on us as coaches figuring out which ones are going to play, but we definitely got a good problem going on.
I'm going to ask you something not related to football. You
Uh-oh.
talked a little bit about just cattle wrestling. I think it's cattle wrestling.
Steer wrestling or bulldogging. Yeah.
You've lost a couple of teeth doing that.
Yeah.
Walk me through the background of how you got into that, and how often are you going back to Idaho to do some steer wrestling?
Let's see. I went back 4 times, but actually the 4 times that I went back this summer in the month of July, I took my kids. All right, so I can show you a pretty cool picture. Let me show you my daughter here. I'm gonna show you my daughter on this picture right here. And this is what we do as kind of our entertainment in Idaho. Okay, this is her. Okay, on riding a sheep, right? She's 5 years old and she gets what we call scorpioned, right? So she's getting bent over backwards right there, and that's me in the background, kind of yelling at her or encouraging her, right, as if you will. So that's kind of how I got into it, doing stuff like that. Just kind of grew up in that world. We were large cattle ranchers in Idaho, and my grandpa actually, who was a quarterback here at the University of Utah, he was an All-American, and he played here right before World War II, okay, and he was drafted by the Chicago Bears. His name's actually out in the trophy room, believe it or not. Not a lot of people knew that about me and the University of Utah, but he played here, and my uncle played here as well. But Grandpa was drafted by the Bears and went on to get drafted by the Navy and served in World War II. So he graduated from University of Utah with a law degree, and he came back from war, and my grandma thought that they were going to live the good life, the country club life, being lawyers and all that good stuff, and Grandpa bought a ranch. And so they went on to be ranchers and moved to Idaho, and it's all been cowboying and football ever since. So, yeah, my dad played at Utah State, like I said, my grandpa, and My uncle played here at University of Utah. My brother played at Utah State. My other brother played at Boise State. And so it's football and cowboying. And we just grew up that way, and it's kind of a way of life. You don't ever move away from it. It's awesome. I actually think it teaches you a lot about toughness and endurance and just the way that life really is, the hard way, and not cowering down to stuff that adversity that can become difficult. So that's a long answer. Sorry.
You're good. I'm sorry to ask that.
No, that's my passion right there, man.
Coach, Cyrus Bowler's received a lot of praise for different things. Just what does he have to do to continue to earn your trust and potentially carve out a role this season?
Man, there's not much there because he's got a lot of trust from me. But he is continuing to prove to not only myself but his teammates and Coach Scally and the rest of the coaching staff that he's very productive. He's an extremely good player. He's got a great attitude, and he's had a really good spring. And now moving into fall camp, he's just kind of taken off from there even more. So really excited about him. He's in a nice little battle with other really good linebackers, and to refer back to the question earlier, finding ways to be creative as a coordinator and finding these ways to get these good players on the field. So excited about him.
How do you feel like Troy Reynolds has improved from the end of last season going into this year?
Man, Trey Reynolds is a rock. He's been a rock ever since he's been here. He is steady. He is a guy that does everything right. He's extremely productive. When he was on the field last year and years in past, he's been, whether it's special teams or defense, he's been a very, very productive player. And there is not a guy on the team that will outwork Trey Reynolds. He is exactly who you want when you're recruiting guys, ones that do not shy away from that hard work. And he's had a great fall camp. He's taken over as a leader in the room. He's very compelling, meaning bringing a lot of the players not only in the linebacker room but defensively along with him, and he's awesome. So excited for him and what we're gonna do with him.
One more for Zay.
Yesterday, Jono said that it makes his job a million times easier if the defensive tackles in front of him are, eating one or two blocks. Just how have you seen the defensive tackle room grow from the end of spring to now?
It's so far it's been great. I mean, in two practice, you see exactly what we want out of that group, and that was them and the DBs. A lot of turnover in there and new guys coming in, so it was a question mark going into spring, and you've seen nothing but growth and development from those guys, and it's continued so far. You can tell that they've had a great summer in the weight room, that they've done a great job in the video room, and it helps us as linebackers if we got a front four in front of us that can allow us to do some cool stuff linebacker wise, but it also helps in the back end with putting pressure on the quarterback. And so the D tackles are doing a fantastic job and are going to continue.
All right, there's Colton, Swan, and some football for all you Ute fans. For you Cougar fans, stick around. Kelly Poppinga is coming up. So is Brett Ciancia. We'll get to Brett next from Pick 6 Previews. Good job on the Big 12. We'll talk Big 12 football with him next. Stay with us. Brett Ciancia joins us now from Pick 6 Previews. Brett, good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's a busy time of year here with Pick 6 Previews. The 2026 magazine is rolling off the printing press, shipping across the country, and we have a lot to break down. So excited to be back on with you guys, talking some BYU, talking Big 12.
Yep. Utah and BYU fans are listening, and they are curious, where do you believe they stack up? Obviously, new coordinator on the defensive side of the ball at BYU, and the Utes with Kyle Whittingham leaving. That's a major change. Morgan taking over. What do you think? Where do they stack up in the Big 12? Who are they? Who's right there with them?
Well, I think it's Texas Tech at the top. They're the defending champions, and I was surprised to see it at Big 12 Media Days. The coaches didn't pick Texas Tech to win it. Maybe that's some off-the-field politicking going on, but in terms of talented rosters, I think you got to start with Texas Tech. We all saw it last year, 11-1 in the regular season. All 11 wins were by double digits. And if you track against the spread kind of stuff, they were unbelievable there, 11-1. The markets couldn't catch up to them, how dominant they were. So very solid season last year. They bring a lot back. They reloaded again from the transfer portal, too, along that defensive line. That's the one question I've got. You send an all-time pass rush to the pros, all 4 guys drafted. But Joey McGuire claims he brought 4 new draft picks in. So we'll see if that's true along the defensive line. But really talented team. I have them number 1 in the conference, projected to go win it again. But then you've got the 2 Utah teams right there, 2-3. I've got them BYU second, Utah third, both in my top 25. And tell you what, guys, if you want an expanded playoff, you're going to basically get a playoff game there November 7th in Salt Lake City, because I think Utah is going to come in with a nice record, and same with BYU, and that could be for the spot against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would have gone with Texas Tech, too, in my mind, in our little unofficial polls that we do. They've done enough, and I saw Hammond go to Rice Eccles and look great as the quarterback. So, and now he's got I know he got injured and didn't get an opportunity to play that much, but he's got more experience in terms of knowledge, and I like him. So in my mind, the question is, for the rest of the Big 12, and you've already brought up the 2 locals, is who is closing the gap, if they are, if any, and how much are they closing it? Because you've got to close that gap with Texas Tech, and obviously they've got the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. You know, we were told that last year BYU's NIL budget was akin to what Texas Tech paid that defensive line, meaning the defensive line for Texas Tech got all the money that is BYU's entire NIL budget. Oh. So financially, It's going to be hard, and that was reaffirmed to us again this year when we were there in opening day of media availability and practice. So that's going to be hard. But do you think that any of these teams, and you've already mentioned a couple, so I assume you think maybe that BYU and Utah, but speak to that. How can these teams, are they closing the gap between them and what Texas Tech is doing?
Yeah, well, I think both the teams we talked about, BYU and Utah, they played them tough for the first half and then into the second half as well. I was down there in Lubbock for the first matchup last year, the Texas Tech BYU College Game Day game, and BYU was physical right there with them. It was a lot of red zone wins for them to keep the score in check, but there's a lot of work I think they have to do on the skill positions at receiver. That's one spot I have a question about with BYU, but in general, guys, it wasn't that loud of an offseason in terms of big transfer signings or huge recruiting classes, although it was a nice recruiting class. But, in terms of transfers, there wasn't too many headliners. But what stood out to me with BYU, which was impressive, was the retention piece of this, the bringing your returning starters back, keeping them in Provo. I talked to Coach Kalani Satake, too, in the preseason for the research for my book, and he harped home on that, too. The player retention, the culture, all those buzzwords. But I think it was 12 guys, 12 BYU players that could have gone to the transfer portal. All 12 returned to Provo. I cover all 68 Power 4 teams. That's very rare to see. Usually you have a couple guys, if not a mass exodus at some places. So that was impressive. That speaks to the culture at BYU. You watch them play, the physicality is certainly there in the trenches, the front seven, the offensive line. That's just how BYU and Utah, to that degree, how those programs have been built. So if you want to close the gap, I think you find it with a second-year quarterback, Bachmeier. You usually see a big gain from first year to second year as a Power 4 starter. Remember, he was thrown in as a true freshman with no spring ball. I mean, it was unbelievable that he was able to start with just a few weeks of practice. So I look for a big gain from Bachmeier. You get L.J. Martin back at running back, big offensive line. I like the linebacking core a lot. In fact, I've got them in my national top 15 in terms of units. Love the linebackers. You get Glasgow back, signed arguably the top linebacker in the country with Cade Ulave coming in. So there's a lot of pieces here to like. That's why I've got the number 2. That's why I've got them playing Tech again. And maybe third time's a charm, guys.
Yeah. I'm curious who you think the fourth team might be and who might beat any of these 3 teams, because even one loss somewhere, one surprise might knock you out of that Big 12 title game as those 3 teams scramble for it. TCU plays all of them. Kansas State, maybe we should look at them getting in the title game because they don't play any of the 3 of them. Arizona's got their quarterback back. Houston's coming off a good season. They're in a talent-rich area. They did win a lot of close games last year. I'm just wondering how you analyze this next tier of teams and who might be in the mix with the other three.
Yeah, well, every year with the preview magazine, there's always seems to be one spot within one of the conferences where it's a log jam of teams, and it's really hard to pick. And this year in 2026, it was this exact spot, the middle of the Big 12, talking from 4th to maybe even 11th. That jam-packed part of the Big 12, all talented teams, all top 40 caliber, and all could push into the top 25 if a couple wins go their way. But I went TCU, and I think this is going against the curve here. I don't see anybody else with TCU this high. I went with them 4th in the conference, 25th nationally on the top 25 board. And what I like about them, it wasn't too much transfer activity. What it was, it's been high school recruiting. Now, if you take Texas and Oklahoma out of the old Big 12 standings because they're no longer in the league, if you look at current Big 12 teams, TCU was the #1 high school recruiter in 23, in 24, and in 25. So they have this pipeline of high school talent that they've been recruiting, developing, retaining. And now, it might not be the most proven names out there. It's not the incoming All-American transfers, but they have a solid, talented roster. You look at their receiver core, ton of 4-stars there. The pass rush looks elite. And then we'll see about this quarterback, Jaden Craig. But if I had to pick a team to go 4th, I'm going TCU. And I think they play both BYU and Texas Tech. So that could be a little thorn in the sides there during the season. So look at TCU as a team. It'll be a tough challenge. From there, you can make the case for so many. Real quick, you've got Kansas State in a coaching transition season with Colin Klein coming home. Easiest schedule in the league, though. They miss all three. They miss Texas Tech, miss BYU, miss Utah. With Arizona, I love Fafita, the quarterback, but they lost their elite pass secondary on defense. All 4 guys were drafted, so I think you're going to see a step back from them. And Houston, this is a team we all differ on. I mean, they were strong last year, 10 wins. 7 games were 1-score wins, though. And I don't think that really tends to flip I think it tends to regress year to year. So too tight of margins for me to really call for a run back of a 10-win season. So there you got it. I got TCU 4th. But really, guys, November 7th, I've got it circled. I know everyone in your state on both sides of the rivalry have that date circled. And if you look at Utah's schedule, the way it plays out, it's very backloaded, meaning I think they're going to be 8-0, and I don't think it's a hot take that they should be 8-0 or at least 7-1 heading into that matchup with BYU. So that's going to have title stakes on the board and should be a ranked matchup and all those good things.
Yeah, you know your stuff, Brett. You're all over it. I can't disagree with anything that you've been saying. That's the way we forecast it, particularly with Utah. It does look like there's a decent chance, minimally, that they are 7-1 if you just look at the schedule and you look at the talent that they've got coming back. But that's the thing that I like about the Big 12. The other conferences, particularly the 2 at the top, tend to be a little more predictable, and it's only been just less than a handful of years that this conference in its existence with these teams. But we've had surprises since Utah's only been in. This is going into the 3rd season, obviously, with the Pac-12 schools, and it's been surprising to see teams each year, good or bad. Obviously the Devils got on top out of nowhere, and then people weren't picking BYU last year with the quarterback situation, and they still got to the final. So that's what makes this conference interesting, as opposed to, okay, who's Ohio State going to play in the Big Ten final? Is it going to be Indiana, Oregon, maybe Michigan? I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But for this conference, and maybe Texas Tech has established itself and it's no longer predictable, but it does seem like there could be 3 or 4 surprises, even as we follow this conference with everything we have, knowing that we still leave that open. And you just named 4 or 5 teams, at least for me, and get your thought on it. That's what I like about this conference, is that we have these educated guesses, I guess, but we're not really sure, and it's more fun that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at recruiting rankings, a lot of the teams are in a similar, group of rankings there. They're bringing in similar talent. The transfer portal's really been the wild card move, because that's where teams can upgrade or downgrade almost instantly and come out of nowhere in shock. I mean, if you look at 2 examples this year, I didn't talk about them, but Arizona State, again, leveraged the portal. They might have as many as 17 transfer starters on their team. So your guess is as good as mine on how that's going to look. If that was a home run, all these players are hits, and that could be a playoff contending team. But if not, they could go 4-8. So teams like that, Oklahoma State, same deal. Their head coach brings up the entire offense from North Texas that led the country in passing and scoring. Right. So you think that offense is set. You're going to see old shootouts again from them. we'll see about the defense. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm sitting here in Pennsylvania. I'm deep in Big Ten country, but when I watch the Big 12, I really enjoy it. I mean, you have so many different styles of play. I think it's really entertaining football. The lines are close. The games are always one score. They're late fourth quarter games. The fan passion is certainly there, and I don't think it gets enough credit too. And, you always hear about the big ones like Ohio State and Penn State, but you watch a game that's in Provo or Salt Lake City, literally the camera is shaking on big plays. Like you can feel the vibration here from your living room. So I have a lot of respect for the fans across the conference. You don't find that in the ACC. You don't see the camera shaking at Wake Forest or Boston College. I don't know if they even have cameras there. So I love this conference. I'm not just saying it because I'm on your show. I've been saying it all off season for years. It's a very interesting, intriguing conference. That's why I went down to Lubbock last year. I had to go see it live. So I want to get out to more. I got to get out to Utah and see a game. But, it's a very entertaining brand of football.
Brett Ciancia joining us, Pick Six previews. The conference games, especially the rivalry here, everybody's just on edge, at each other's throats and all that trash talk and all that kind of stuff. But here at the start of the season, with a lot of non-conference games, this has been a one-bid league. And we followed the Pac-12 for years. It was always the knock on it. There was a zero-bid league. They were getting 0 teams into the 14 playoff. Now the Big 12 is getting 1 into the 12-team playoff, and it looks like, the weak sister out of the Power 4. So the question is, can they win either enough total non-conference games that can't be ignored? Can they win a marquee games so they can't be ignored? It doesn't look like there are that many marquee games. Some of them, ASU's biting off a lot going to Texas A&M. That's a massive challenge. Oregon and Oklahoma State. Yikes. That 2 games into the rebuild with a new coach, you're playing the Ducks, so good luck with that. Obviously, BYU Notre Dame, a massive game. Can they clean up on enough of the Utah versus Arkansas where it's just overwhelming? I think the conference has 4 or 5 games against the ACC. I don't think you get a lot if TCU beats North Carolina. But if you win all those games, maybe it adds up to something. What do you think about the ability of the league in September to build a rep and get a second or third team, third seems crazy, into the playoffs?
Yeah, that goes a long way because, perception-wise or whatever metrics they look at, it looks like the SEC and the Big Ten, for whatever reason, they have a head start here. They're getting 2, 3, 4, even 5 the SEC last year teams into the bracket. So for the Big 12 and really the ACC, for that matter, to punch back and earn some more credibility, you got to win those non-conference games. And in BYU's case, you got a big one. You got Notre Dame. This is kind of put up or shut up for the conference, those kind of opportunities. And so Notre Dame's probably the most impressive non-conference game, and it happens to be on BYU's schedule. You mentioned a couple more. I think Baylor plays Auburn. UCF plays, I think, Pittsburgh. And, these are just Power 4 versus Power 4. You want to clean up as many as you can, because at the end of the day, that's all going to be used as firepower for your resume. But I think the best case is, this might sound crazy, but to get 2 teams in the conference, I think you need Tech to pretty much go 12-0. Go into that conference title game looking like a top 5 team in the country, and then have the number 2 team upset them in Dallas, because there you're granted the automatic bid for the team that pulled the upset. So like a BYU, a Utah, a TCU, that'd be an auto bid. And I think a 12-1 Texas Tech would still be a strong enough resume to get in there as a conference runner-up. So it reminds me a little bit of March Madness when you hear about those conference tournaments, the bid stealers, where a team that wouldn't have been in the bracket wins the conference and gets the auto bid. That's kind of, I think, the path for the Big 12 and really the ACC for that matter right now to ensure that you get 2 in the bracket, because we've seen the committee rule against very capable 2-loss teams from these leagues. BYU, an example last year, 2 losses, both were to Texas Tech. One was in the postseason, and they were held out of the bracket. Miami 2 years ago, similar deal. I think they went 10-2, had a nice resume. They were kept out. So if you lose a second game, I don't trust the committee to value the Big 12 and the ACC. You got to go win that conference auto bid.
Yeah, I think that's a fact. So I wouldn't trust them either. I'm wondering what you think. So much hype. Everything Deion Sanders does is big news, right? It just doesn't matter because of who he is and his ability as just a magnet for media attention. And, last year, the health issue with him was extremely real. There's no question about it. At the same time, they had a crappy team. And so it was going into his 4th season, and he's had 2 crappy teams and 1 decent season. And so for now, it seems like the pressure's on. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah, well, every year is different with Colorado, and actually in past years, I've written up their first draft of their team preview, and then after spring ball, 50 guys leave. I had to just delete the whole page and start over from scratch. It's like unbelievable, the player movement up there. Now, this time around, at least there was no second transfer window, so the players that came in the door in December and January, at least you're getting them to kick off. So, I mean, maybe a little bit of player retention in a way for a couple extra months than usual for Colorado. But that said, it was another top 25 transfer class. That marks 4 straight for Colorado. Maybe they were able to retain them this time around, but they have too many questions for me to be considered a contender. Both lines of scrimmage look, they're question marks for me. I don't see any reason to pick them higher than towards the bottom of the conference. I like the quarterback with Lewis. I think that he makes some good throws. Maybe some questionable coaching last year. You saw clips out of media day that they weren't even watching film. Unbelievable to think that in 2026 that was the case, but who knows? So they do have some talented players here and there across the roster, receiver, quarterback, but as a complete starting 22 and then a 2 deep 44, I just don't see it. So until proven otherwise, I've got them down towards the bottom of the conference.
There are multiple teams that went deep into the transfer portal. You've mentioned Oklahoma State, new coach, brings a lot of guys. Iowa State's got a new coach, bringing a lot of guys from Washington State. Rich Rod is going full Dion deep into the transfer portal for his second year on the job at West Virginia. You mentioned Colorado and ASU as well. Are there any teams beyond Texas Tech? Are there any teams that went in the transfer portal where you think there's no way to know, but I got to keep my eye on them because I think there's a pretty good chance this team has come up big in the portal?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State, you got to start there. This is a team that most of the staff and the players were at North Texas last year and put up top 5 passing numbers, top 5 scoring numbers. You got an NFL quarterback with Drew Mestemaker and bringing everybody with him, bringing his all-conference running back, his receivers, his linemen, and, of course, the scheme that got them there with Eric Morris. And I talked to Coach Morris. I asked him about the transition up from the AAC to the Big 12, and he kind of chuckled and said, hey, I was born in the Big 12. He's got roots here. He's a Texas Tech alum and former coach, and his track record of building elite offenses is unmatched right now. Now we'll see how it translates up. But I love that offense a lot. I think it does translate 1-to-1. I think they're going to be a team that scores 30, 45 points a game. But can they stop anybody? So that's where I have my questions. Look for some old 2010s Big 12 shootouts there in Stillwater, again, like the old days. But, hey, I'll say this. Most improved offense in America for sure. They were dead last. They're going to be one of the best this year and should be one of the most improved teams. 1-11, awful season last year. I think they make a bowl. So not a playoff contender, but certainly one of the most improved from 25 to 26.
All right, this bugs my radio partner, but I'm going to do it anyway. Since you're a Philly area guy, I'm born and raised in North Jersey. A lot of experience in South Jersey. So my Jersey shore of choice is Ocean City. What's yours?
Right next door, Sea Isle City, New Jersey. Yeah, love it. Ocean City, you got Mac and Manco's Pizza.
Oh,
you got the boardwalk.
Here we go.
Yeah, the Music Pier.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful town, great family town. You got the Wonderland over there. So, yeah, that's a classic Jersey boardwalk talk. I'm a one town south of you in Sea Isle. We've got more of a restaurant, maybe a bar scene. No boardwalk, unfortunately. I'd love to get one like that. But, hey, South Jersey Shore, man, the best spot on earth.
What is that? What is the food that's got the 2 different names depending on where you're from? Pork roll or tailored ham? Yeah. Look at him.
This is awesome. I didn't expect this on Utah radio.
Nobody does. That's why he does it. That's why he does it. The number of times we broken down pork roll, I just can't. I don't even have words for it. I went to college to do this.
It's pork roll in South Jersey, Taylor ham in North Jersey. How many times I got to tell you?
About 500,000.
My sister went to Glassboro, which has now been renamed Rowan, but
sure.
I've got my brother, my best man at my wedding, grew up in West Deptford, is in the West Deptford High School Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So I got those roots, and I researched who you are, and you really know your stuff. I got to give you credit. So pump your magazine again, because if it's anything like what you've been saying on the radio, it is certainly worth the time and effort and money to get it.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, well, it's called Pick Six Previews. It's available at pick6previews.com. We've got the digital copy, but also the hard copy this year, spiral bound. They're coming off the printing press, shipping them across the country. It's a one-man show. It's all me. I do all 68 Power 4 teams. Talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, watching spring games. I've got my advanced numbers in the book, but putting it back into a readable format, the narrative, the X's and O's, really the storylines for the season. So, hey, a lot of transfer movement, all these teams. It's a good way to get caught up, get excited for the season, bring it to the beach, the lake, the couch. But yeah, thanks guys for having me on. And maybe I'll send you a picture down from the shore this weekend.
Sweet, very nice.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Put it up on social media and tag us. This is for Utah. All right, Brett. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
There's Brett Ciancia. When we come back, Kelly Poppinga, defensive coordinator for BYU. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we are joined by BYU's defensive coordinator. Kelly, do you look over your shoulder for someone when I say that? Are you used to that title?
No. I've always, like linebacker coach or defensive end coach, but man, when I said defensive coordinator, man, the little weight comes on your shoulders a little bit, but it's been fun. I keep saying it. I got great people around me. It makes the job way more manageable than I thought it would be, and it's been fun. I'm excited.
You're now the first-time defensive coordinator, but it's kind of like Scally up at Utah. You've been training for this for a long, long time. So how much does that give you a level of comfort that even though the title is new, you were special teams coordinator, and then you've been around both sides of the country, different places. Seems like you got a lot of experience as you assume this mantle.
Yeah, no, I've said this from day one. I look back to my playing career with Bronco and my coaching career with Bronco, and then on to Boise State, and then with Kalani the last 3 years, and Jay, I've learned a ton, and I've been well prepared, and I got good guys like that around me that have been and seen and done everything, and so having a guy like Coach Anderson around has been awesome, and learning from him. So to me, it's all about the people that you have around you, and obviously the experience helps, but there's a lot of other experience around us that I think prepares the whole staff to be ready for what's coming.
Yeah. When I hear people talk about this, and Cougar fans, a lot of them are like, Jay Hill was awesome. We're going to miss Jay Hill. And I think, well, that's true. Yeah. Jay was awesome. He had a great run at Weber State. He had a great, the last 2 years here have been awesome. But I keep thinking, because they're able to promote from within, you've literally had full access to Jay, everything he thought, why he did the things he did, why he regretted some of the things he did that he didn't do. It's kind of an unusual transformation here. It's not a lot of stuff has been lost. You were taking notes. You knew this day could come.
Oh, yeah, and Jay's awesome. I learned a ton from him in 3 years. He was a huge help for me on special teams, too, as well. Really good coach, really good person. I've learned a lot from him as far as how to manage people, too, as well, how to manage players. He was exceptional at all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I've told this to everybody, Jay learned it from, at the same time Kalani was learning it. They both learned it from, Gary Anderson, who's in the building with us, and Gary learned it from Kyle Whittingham. And, there's this whole tree, and I feel like I have access to this whole tree. And, Jay and I still talk, and we were out golfing at this Pebble Beach deal, and we were, talking through stuff. And, we didn't sit back and watch, Self-Scout together. We watched it, while he's at Michigan and I was here, and it's funny, we had a lot of the same conclusions from what, could have been better from a year ago, and who played better than we thought, and who could have, maybe played a little bit better. But anyway, it was pretty interesting to just get that feedback when we'd been in separate rooms and kind of came down to the same ideas. But I just think ultimately, to have Kalani, to have Gary, to have DeMario Warren, to have Lewis Walker, all these guys have D-coordinator experience, and just to have all that around me, I just feel blessed to have a bunch of good people around me.
Okay, I don't want to talk football anymore. I want to talk Pebble Beach. You played Pebble Beach?
Yeah. Kalani, it's something that Lavelle, I think, started about 30 years ago. Oh. And, we were able, Kalani goes every year, so maybe you can get it in with Kalani right there. And a bunch of coaches from around the country go there. You get a foursome. Each coach gets a foursome, and you play 3 courses over a 3-day period. It's a pretty sweet deal, and you end with Pebble Beach on the last day. So, yeah, it was awesome.
All right. Just a little more football here, although we could talk Pebble Beach forever because that's fairly nice perk, dude. Very good perk. Yeah. You mentioned DeMario Warren. Remember him at Southern Utah. Southern Utah has some advantages, but they also have a lot of disadvantages, a lot of hills to climb. His time there, they were right there with Jay, sharing Big Sky title, playing head-to-head in an NCAA playoff game, and they had tough times after he left. So what is the secret sauce he's got? He's clearly got something because he outperformed what happened right before him and he outperformed what happened right after him. That dude's got something. What are you seeing?
And there's a reason why I brought him here when I, was with him at Boise State. He did some awesome stuff at Boise State too as well. And very detailed coach, very smart, very intelligent. He's one of those guys that, I think he came from the offensive side. He was a running back, so he had to go through the grinder to be able to learn, what defensive football was all about, coaching the back end and then becoming a coordinator under Ed Lamb and then becoming the head coach and having a lot of success. And so I just think it kind of goes to that same mold I was in, but he was kind of under that Ed Lamb tree for a long time. He was at Southern Utah for 14 years. And so I just think that experience that he has as a coordinator, as a head coach, and then being able to see what he did as a position coach at Boise State, he's everywhere he's been, he's had results. And I know immediately when he stepped in the room and went through his first position meeting, the guy sat back and was like, they love Jay Hill, but, they listened to this guy talking, his knowledge of the game. I think they were all blown away, like, holy cow, this guy knows the game of football, and he knows coverages, he knows the back end. Not just that part, he knows the front end too as well, which is pretty that's different for a back end coach to know a lot about the front end. So he's a super smart guy that I just think brings a lot of knowledge to the staff.
You left BYU, was it 2015?
2015 was our last year. 2016 was our first year at Virginia. Yep.
So at that time, I can remember talking to you about what you experienced in Virginia versus here in terms of resources. And you're a guy who speaks his mind, and you said, no, there's more resources over there than there was here, and you laid it out. Now that we're a decade later and we know what happened in December and more resources, just speak to the level of commitment financially and all the things that go into running a big-time program and what you've seen from BYU first time around to where it is now.
Yeah, all you got to do is walk into our weight room and see a complete remodel of our weight room. That's top of the line. This addition was done after Bronco left. And then you look at our nutrition center, we didn't have any of that when we were here before. So the access to the food that these guys have, the access to our sports science, that sports science department's as big as, anywhere in the country. We got Ohio State and other SEC schools, Big Ten schools coming after Skyler, our sports science guys. So, that part of it of just being able to take care of the players with their bodies, their nutrition. There's a sleep part of it too as well. It's not even close. It's night and day. It's honestly two different programs. You wouldn't be able to tell the two programs side by side. That's how different it is. And just the quality, nothing against the players in the past, but I would say the quantity of the quality, right, is a lot better than what it was. We're deeper and more talented than we've ever been. I think a lot has to do with going into the Big 12 and being able to recruit and have the finances to do all that. But I think they walk in here now and they're like, oh, these guys care about football. Look at their weight room, look at their nutrition, look at all just the access that the players have to a bunch of different resources. It's night and day from where we were, 10 years ago, independent with Bronco.
And what about night and day from a year ago? Because obviously that process with Penn State, it was a lot of money, and it's not just about a salary for the head coach. It's not just about a salary for the assistants, the staff, everything. How does the program move forward because of the discussions that happened last December?
Yeah, obviously there was a lot of resources committed to Kalani, and there was, a lot of discussions there that, he wanted to make sure our players had. And ultimately for him, which I really respect about Kalani, a lot of it didn't come down to him. It was about what more could the staff have and what more could the players have. And it wasn't more for him. It was more for everybody else that he wanted, because he knows if the players are taken care of and if their bodies are right, mentally, physically, emotionally, academically, all that stuff, we're going to be a successful football team. And I've been able to see, what I've been able to see, honestly, in the last 6 to 8 months is that this team is, right now, we're bigger, faster, stronger than we were a year ago. And I thought last year was one of the fastest teams BYU's ever had. So I think we're a step ahead, and I think a lot has to do with the resources Kalani got for our team.
Do you guys talk about expectations much? Because obviously they're extremely high.
We call that, I think Nick Saban used to say rat poison, PK. That's the rat poison on the outside. He said, that's just rat poison. But, there's expectations outside the building, but our players know what we want. Yeah, we know what we want, and we talk about it. But at the end of the day, it was a saying I actually got from Bronco all the time. He used to say, keep the end in mind of, like, why did we come out to practice today? Well, it's because what we want to have accomplished in December and January. Mm-hmm. And we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to go tell the world what we're all about. We can talk about it in our building, but that's the process, I think, of what Kalani talks about, being humble and hungry and, just going to work every day. And you chip away every single day, and that, those goals that you set for yourself are going to come to fruition if you just stay the course.
we've been here so long, and we've seen so many people like yourself. We remember when you played, and we remember when you're a position coach, and then your career progresses. And so, of course, we're impartial journalists, but it shows more fun when the local teams win. Yeah. But we can't lie. There was a clear gap between Texas Tech and both the Utes and Cougars a year ago. When you say this team's bigger, stronger, and faster than a year ago, I hear that and think the gap is closing big time, or it's closed, or maybe they've surpassed them. Am I crazy? Am I up in the night? Before I go blathering away on the radio, do you want to say anything about that? Because that's right where my brain went.
Well, I just think, you have to play the games to obviously see that. But from my standpoint of just from our team, I don't know what they're doing, but I know from our team, we're bigger, faster, stronger, more experienced than we were a year ago. Obviously, having a quarterback that's more experienced helps us as well. And so I just look at that. I don't know if the gap's closed. Maybe they've gotten bigger, faster, stronger too as well, right? But I just feel from where we were a year ago, from our standpoint, I think we've closed the gap on that. And yeah, they're the standard right now. We got to catch those guys, and they're doing some great stuff. And hopefully we have a chance to play them. And if we do, they'll be in a championship game. That's when we'll play them, because we don't play them in the regular season. So I would like to experience that game to see if we've closed in the gap.
We've often heard over the years for BYU football and for others that were in the Mountain West and WAC that the starters were able to compete with just about anybody, but the depth really dropped off. And so what you're saying now, and answer this question then, that the depth now is something that I don't know if you're satisfied, but you're happy, whatever phrase, whatever word you would use, as far as, because we know injuries are going to come.
Yeah. I was looking at our 3 deep today. I'm just looking at linebackers now and trying to get these guys all reps in practice. And usually you don't worry about getting your 3s reps in practice. Those usually happen at the end of practice. Usually, like we did today, have a set for the 3s. But now I'm trying to rotate my 3s in, because I think I don't want to say they're just as good as my starters, but they could go start for us and we would be just fine. And they have started for us. It's Ace Kafusi and Miles Hall. Those are our 3s right now, and those guys have both started games for us. And so to be in that position at the linebacker, and I think it's the same at D-line and DB and safety, I just think we're 3 deep, and all those guys could be starters for us.
Is that going to translate on special teams?
It should. I mean, I think the deeper your team is, the better you are on special teams. And that's why I think we've been really good on special teams the last 2 years. We were deep in those positions to where you didn't have to have your starters out there playing all the special teams. You still have them out there for 1 or 2 units, but that's where I credit our team over the last 2 years. We were deeper than I ever had been at BYU before in 24 and 25. And so I would believe it would go in that same direction as long as those guys are bought in, which I know Coach Anna will get those guys bought in to do it.
And so you mentioned, Coach Anna, you're not special teams coach anymore, coordinator. Are you going to be whispering in his ear, fake punt? What are you going to do?
I'll let him do whatever, because that was Kalani's he's pretty aggressive when it comes to that stuff. And so I'm excited about it, yeah. So I know Coach Anna, it's really just the mindset that we do as a team, so I'm sure we'll be ready for that stuff.
Yeah, but you can really green light it. When the defensive coordinator is like, we got this, go for it. If it works, great. If not, we'll clean it up. We got it.
That was what was great with Jay. Jay was always ready for it. He knew what we were going to do and always had the defense prepared, and we'll be the same way.
All right. Thanks for a few minutes. Congrats on the new gig, and congrats on the Pebble Beach stuff. Good work.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There's Kelly Poppinga. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
Looking to the right, throwing the fade into the end zone. Simi Fehoko the catch, toe taps the sideline. Cardinals touchdown. How about that? Simi Fehoko on the business end. Carson Beck put it right on the money. Rolling right, throwing on the run into the end zone. Sliding grab by the Cardinals. Bryson Green out of bounds.
After review, the ruling on the field has been changed to a touchdown.
Game on the line. King, he's going to step up. Pumps, runs, goal line. Is he in? Yes! Carolina wins! King of the night!
Carolina Panthers win the Hall of Fame game. The preseason starts with the Panthers beating the Cardinals 33-30. You heard Brighton High, Simi Fehoko. 1 catch, 5 yards, 1 touchdown. For a guy I bet you watched, PK, at some point. You go over there to old Brighton High and see Simi Fehoko, the Bengal who went on to Stanford.
My wife taught.
Oh, in a class, huh? Nice. Albion Middle School.
We go way back.
Back in the day. Carson Beck showing well for Arizona. 15 of 19, 188 yards. Keaton Slovis came on, 9 of 10, 106 yards. Touchdown, no picks. So, nice performance by those guys as they try to prove they belong in the league, and they should be given a bigger opportunity. And I would think Keaton Slovis is feeling pretty good right about now.
Okay.
Detroit Lions reward star running back Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 years, $67.5 million extension, $51.5 million guaranteed. Incentives could take it a little over $75 million. So, Jahmyr Gibbs, big money.
Big success story in his personal life there, from where he came and being adopted by a couple and all that. He had some tough times early on, and a guy you can want to see succeed.
Well, he's doing it individually and as a team. I mean, a little bit of a down year for them versus 2 years ago. Obviously, they finished last in the division, so they get a few easier games mixed in. And, I mean, last in the division, and at the same time, they still had a winning record. Even as he prepares for the Hall of Fame enshrinement, Larry Fitzgerald was saying things like, retired? ? What do you mean retired? There's no retirement in sight. I don't know. I protest the word more than the actual thing. I just want to acknowledge that.
Well, does that mean he's getting ready for work right now? To go work at 8 o'clock?
I don't think he's going to be punching a time clock, PK.
Played 17 years in the NFL. I think he's okay.
But maybe he's open to some kind of coaching job or the gig economy.
He never officially submitted retirement
paperwork. Yeah.
What's crazy, you want to talk about him 17 years in the NBA. By the time he was 25, I think Devin Booker had already earned more money than Larry Fitzgerald earned in an entire NFL career. Two Phoenix guys, obviously. I heard that. Somebody told me that story about the guaranteed money, and the money you get in the NBA is way better than the NFL, and here is a Hall of Famer. He's probably Mr. Cardinal there. Mr. Arizona Cardinal, anyway.
All the other high-profile people come and go, aren't there as long, and there really aren't many people as high-profile as him anyway. Plus, he played a skilled position on top of that. Tampa Bay Bucks GM Jason Light says the franchise has no plans to trade away defensive tackle Vita Vea despite his trade request, and that Baker Mayfield remains QB number 1 despite his cutting off of the contract talks. They'll either figure it out later or work it out later or move on from him later, but for this year, Baker's the guy. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Every recruit and every current student athlete will hear this message repeatedly. We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana.
See, you're trying to slam the rival there, but the rival just went 16-0 and won a championship, so that was bizarre / awkward at best, or just wrong.
Yeah, that's in the past, though, man. Look to the future. You're stuck in the past.
Yeah, I think when the past is just the most recent college football game.
You can think whatever you want, but it's still in the past.
Just, I don't know, was it 2 days ago? Maybe it was even yesterday. Talking about you got to go to practices back in the day as a beat writer because you never know, somebody's going to get hurt and you got to be there to report it and all that. And USC loses their starting center, Killian O'Connor, to a season-ending non-contact leg injury in practice. He started 7 games last year, was expected to be the guy this year, and now he's out.
And somebody told you that BYU's worried about Kalani going to SC, huh? They didn't tell me that. They told you.
Did they tell you that? Has someone ever? No one's ever told you that? Yeah.
No, you told me that somebody told you.
Yep. That was used as an example of they'll have success and people will keep knocking on the door and they'll come calling, just like Penn State did. There'll be somebody up next.
Knocking on the door, someone's ringing a bell.
Sing it. Indiana Hoosiers announced that edge rusher Kellen Wyatt's returning for a 5th year after the injection in Colorado last week. He started 7 games last season before season-ending knee surgery. He joined Stephen Daly as Hoosier standouts from last year that opted to return this year. North Carolina coach Bill Belichick announced his son Steve's on medical leave, out indefinitely. No further update given. No real answer to the question, will Steve's spot be filled if he's unavailable for their season opener in Ireland, August 29th?
Well, does he have another son?
Plug that one in. Next kid up. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
The ongoing investigation into Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers regarding alleged salary cap circumvention has another twist. Pablo Torre, who broke the original story, revealed that Leonard had an undisclosed sponsorship agreement allegedly worth millions of dollars with Daktronics, the company that designed the Clippers' video board inside the Intuit Dome and has a huge market share of scoreboards in stadiums, arenas around the sports world. Daktronics spokesman acknowledged the NBA is looking into them and the ongoing investigation by the league. And still we wait. And will the Raptors want to finish that trade? And what will the penalty be? And the clock ticks on. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball, the Red Sox. Hey, you got to win a lot of different ways if you're going to win 31 out of 36. Red Sox, dramatic finish, 12-11. They beat the White Sox in 13 innings.
Yeah, that game had me captivated. I was watching it.
Both teams scoring in extra innings. You hung on there for the drama with the Red Sox tying it up in the 9th. 1 in the 9th, 2 in the 10th, 1 in the 11th, 1 in the 12th, 1 in the 13th before they finally win it.
Oh, yeah. The two-out single in the 9th inning. They had the runner on third, and they couldn't get him in. It looked like, oh, no, now sac fly or ground out or what have you isn't going to do it. They get a single up the middle to tie the game. And then in the extras, you expect runs with the
guy at second base.
Yeah.
Now they've gone to the automatic runner to try to move things along.
And they hit a two-run homer off of Chapman, but no big deal.
The law of numbers, as you expected, held up. 1 run for the Diamondbacks the day after they scored 10.
Yeah, you want to win like 4-3 or something. You don't want to win 10-4 because then the next game you're not going to score.
Yep. Padres win 5-1, so in the battle for that last wild card in the National League, the Diamondbacks have it. The Padres are a game back. They split a 4-game series.
Well, I think that's appropriate for two teams that are
basically 500 teams. Yeah, and the team that benefited is the Phillies. They win again, 7-3. So while the other two were splitting, the Phillies, who started the week tied with the Diamondbacks, they've pulled away a little bit, give themselves a little breathing room.
It's too early to worry about that, though. I mean, I know you're a standings guy.
I'm on top of it.
But it's with 2 months to go in the season.
It's still only, the Phillies are still only 2 games in front of the Padres. They could be the team that's out.
Yeah. But I know you like to talk about that.
Christopher Sanchez, a 15-game winner. There used to be a time that was a thing, PK. Phillies beat Washington 7-3. Christopher Sanchez, 15 wins for Philly. But now it's all about whip and a bunch of other stats.
You keep saying that.
You think people are tracking 15 wins and who gets the most wins and all that? Seems like
and I think that's what the standings are based on. Who gets the most wins?
Yeah, but they're pulling pitchers out so early in games now. They can't control who wins. It's different than when they were expected to go 7, 8, or 9. Now they're going 4, 5, or 6.
7 or 8 or 9, or at least 7, they will. They don't take them out because you've reached some little league. We got to take you out. It's because they need to get somebody else in there.
The Bees fall again. They were up 3-1 after 6. They end up getting beat 6-3. Oklahoma City gets a win. The Bees have dropped 10 in a row. They will try again tonight. America First Field, 6:30. Tony Park's on the call, 6:20 here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake back in action tomorrow, 8 o'clock. They're going to be playing in second game in the League's Cup. Atlante, the Liga MX side, will visit them for that game. The pregame show will start at 7 o'clock. Pablo Mastroeni will join us coming up at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, and we'll talk to him about that game. see what lineup changes can be expected with the games coming fast and furious. It seems like he's got to make changes every game. We'll talk with him about that at 8 o'clock. And haven't heard anything on Gozo and that deal getting done. We'll see if Pablo can shed any light on that. Utah Royals face the Denver Summit in the Continental Divide rivalry, 2 o'clock tomorrow on the Zone, 1:30 for the pregame show. That's what's trending, brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. No job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Pablo at 8 o'clock. Tiger Bachmeier, BYU wide receiver. PK and I talked with him. We'll hear him coming up at 8:30. And Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Joining us now, it is the head coach of the Utah State Aggies, Bronco Mendenhall.
I know you're so process-driven and there's a plan to every part of the season, but is this your favorite part?
There's an excitement that comes to the start of every season for sure. I would have to say, just in terms of full transparency, I really like the off-season. I like the molding, forming, crafting, forging the next team through the weight workouts and through the runs and through the early morning workouts and through spring practice. I think that's my favorite era. Nothing takes away from the season, or can it take the place of the season, and the excitement going into today, certainly at a really high level. I think foundationally that my favorite part is the formation of the team, and now this part where you get to see kind of the fruition of the formation of your program.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Meet Keith, loving dad, board game champ, bus driving pro.
I drive 65,000 miles in my bus each year. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like how there are some things I simply can't see. On my route the other day, a car tried to sneak past me and ends up right in my blind spot. I turned slowly, so accident avoided. But no car should be in the blind spot for a 40,000-pound bus. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Join Scotty G and the coach today from 10 to 2 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Question of the morning. When will BYU and Utah lose their first games? The old cliche, everybody's undefeated right now, everybody's happy. That is bound to change, but when? Jared with the dream scenario. It'd be cool if either one of them, their first loss was when they played the other one. That would make for an awesome game.
That'd be 2 top 10 teams.
Sitting there at 8-0 versus 8-0, and given that they started 15-21 in the coaches' preseason poll, your top 10 is probably on the low end, but that's the round number we all go to, right? Could be number 5 versus number 8. Number 3 versus number 6. How good could it get? That'd be pretty good. There aren't that many teams that make it to 8-0. They'd with where they're starting 8-0, they'd be up there.
Yeah, the playoff committee would have their ranking out by then, and I don't think they want to rank them that high because then they don't have to worry about giving the Big 12 a second bid if teams that high. So I wouldn't see top 5. But BYU has the opportunity, certainly because of Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is going to be highly ranked most of the season unless they really fall off, and I don't see it. So getting a win at Notre Dame at home would just be one of the better wins the program has ever had, all things considered this year. Utah doesn't really have that marquee win, but they will have opportunities to get them in November. And this game is the first game of November. So I think that they would actually benefit. If they're looking for an at-large berth, they would benefit from BYU's success and then beating BYU.
I can put a poll question here. I suspect Notre Dame will be the prevailing answer for when the Cougars get their first loss. There are some games before that could be tricky. They've got to go to TCU. We've talked about the Arizona opener, so it could come before Notre Dame.
I think most people go to Notre Dame. Tricky.
Though, okay, yeah, that's 3, and the others going to Kansas late in the year. The Utah game, obviously.
Well, I mean, I think half leading up to that game. I don't count the Utah Tech game. So they play 6 games before then. That's a scrimmage.
Well, Notre Dame is game 6, so it's 5 before then.
Right.
And you're right about Tech in the scrimmage. So the other 4, you look at 2 of those 4 as tricky.
Yeah.
You'd say half, yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Arizona and at TCU.
Why wouldn't you?
So you want to pick them for the first loss against Arizona or TCU?
That very well could happen.
It very well could, but what do you want to pick?
Well, what's the difference what you pick? I mean,
well, that's the question. I mean, there is no difference. We're just killing time in August, waiting for a game.
They could lose both of those games.
They could.
I mean, predictions for me are just that if you do it in August. You know, when the season is underway, you have a much better feel. Now, the Arizona game is still way too early to be looking at that. And what do you got, Schedule Boy? What are you looking up now?
I'm putting up the poll question.
So, yes, they could lose 2 games. I'd be gosh, if I'm the coaches, yeah, I'm greatly concerned about both those games. Not right now today. They're worried about practice today. But when the time comes, those things aren't even close to gimmies. There's no question right now in my mind they can go either way. Maybe Arizona, it's not going to change. When we get to game week, I'm still going to think the same thing I have today, unless they've had some massive
injury,
camp injuries.
Game 1 isn't going to tell us that much. I get that.
TCU will have a much better feel for both sides. But right now, yeah, that Arizona game, it's not like I'm petrified, but these guys have been pointing to this game. Talked to the Arizona guys in Texas. They were talking about it, Fafita. And then I substituted, Ben is out, so I did some work with Jake yesterday. And he said when I deserted him because I had to go to the airport, and then they had Brett Brennan on, the Arizona coach, and he was talking about that game. And now obviously he's talking to a Utah audience, and he knows the audience, and he's got media savvy. So that's one of the reasons why he's bringing it up. I told Jake that actually the reason why I left because of my deep concern and love for my audience, because I had to get back. I don't take days off. No days off. So I had to get back to do the show the next day. So that's why I left. And they bought, for whatever reason, that second day, they brought coaches after 3 o'clock. And that was, Brennan was one of them. And he's talking about that game. So, and Fafita has got family, tons of family, he said, that live in Utah. Sort of makes sense. He's a Polynesian guy from Southern California. There's thousands upon thousands of those folks who live up here now. And so they're looking to settle a score for sure, because they got a lot of returning guys. So does BYU. And Arizona, absolutely. They had a really good season last year, and they believe they let that game get away. And you can see why they think that. So that, to me, that game is a toss-up. And right now, I think TCU would be a toss-up. Now, we'll have more thought on that as we get to that game week. But, yeah, I think that's a real difficult schedule for them. The 2 out of the first 4? Yeah, for sure. And then, obviously, Notre Dame might be the best team that they play all year.
I put it up on Twitter. You can go vote. When will BYU lose for the first time versus Arizona in Game 2, at TCU Game 4 versus Notre Dame Game 6, or other? Get something else. You can drop a comment and explain.
If they roll out of that 6-0, Katie bar the door. Good night, Irene. Lay down, Sally. Won't you rest me in your arms? Yes. I'm choosing BYU, you can tell. Drinking Jack all by myself.
Let the lyrics roll.
And the good times, for that matter.
Well, that would be good times.
I go to your era.
Got an undefeated team rolling through
7-0?
September and October.
I'm freaking hire Kalani at USC right then and there.
He did what USC won't. He played Notre Dame and he beat them.
Yes.
You can't.
They're 7-0. That's the best stretch they've had in program history.
We'll get Larry the Laker out of Mom's basement and say, go talk to all your USC neighbors. What are they saying, Larry?
That would be phenomenally incredible. Not just incredible, but phenomenally incredible.
Would you like to put another
Yes.
qualifier in front of that?
And deservedly so, and I'm still understating it.
Unbelievably.
Yeah. I don't see how you can argue. And it's fun to have hyperbole. I get that. We're messing around here. But there's a lot of truth to that, man. If they roll out 7-0, beating basically a 4-year starter quarterback in Arizona and going down to TCU and then beating Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame, who's
you can say, Arizona, TCU. Okay, but then it's punctuated by Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame's number 5 in the coaches' preseason poll.
You can't say,
we'll get the media
Notre
poll.
Dame.
Right.
No, I don't want to hear it.
They beat number 5 Notre Dame.
Yeah. And BYU, outside of the Miami win, has always had a yeah, but. Well, there'll be no yeah, buts. They only have the media and the public, non-BYU, of course, have only given them one non-yeah, but win in their entire program history.
Kansas State, Cotton Bowl.
No.
Not even that.
I mean, good for Kansas State, but it's Kansas State.
They were a top 10 team.
And they were, but they don't. Nobody views Kansas State.
In the history of football, it doesn't carry. You're right. And the Oklahoma and Texas, well, Texas did down. And Oklahoma's quarterback was hurt. They beat Michigan. Michigan was a 500 team that year. Here's all the yeah buts getting run out. Yeah.
They've only got one non-yeah but. Now, I think they've got more than that, but that's what the
Penn
perception
State.
is.
What about the Penn State win?
Nope.
Just hit him with a guttural noise. Not a real argument.
I don't even know what the yeah but was, but if I go back and research, and that you live in the past, so you can do that. I don't want to do that. And here, the Notre Dame will be the second one if they should get it.
What about Wisconsin and Michigan State? You were at those games.
Yeah, I think
Michigan State unraveled that year. They unraveled that year.
And I think Wisconsin went 7-5. It was a phenomenal game.
Nebraska on the Hail Mary at the goal line.
Yeah, Nebraska sucks since Tom Osborne. Those are all thrilling, awesome wins for sure.
Named programs, but
they were great wins. Yeah, I mean, really, any power 4 or 5, whatever you want, 5 then, 4 now. Those are all good wins, no doubt about it. And especially you can't control. You schedule the game. It's up to the other team to be good. And it's up to the other team to be good after you beat them. And then it's not BYU's fault, but that's the perception out there. A bunch of yeah buts, and they start 7-0. Wow, that's the best run they would have had in a regular season program history.
7-0 with a win over number 5, or maybe by then even better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would think TCU and Arizona would have representative seasons.
TCU's got a good chance at that point of being 4-0. I mean, you're right. Just so you get to see 4 games, so you have a few more thoughts. You'll know at least how they're winning. This is what they do real well. There aren't a lot of marquee games: North Carolina, Grambling, Arkansas State, and UCF.
Well, North Carolina will be a notable game for the Belichicks and his 14-year-old girlfriend, and the fact that it's in Ireland.
Mm-hmm. 10 a.m. ESPN, the whole country will get to watch it, and the Belichick factor puts some eyeballs on it. Plus, it'll be the only game on.
Yeah, and I always watch it because I like the sights and sounds of Ireland, my grandfather's homeland. And I've never been there. Interestingly enough, my daughter's been there, but I haven't been there. And my niece took her. My niece, who turns 49 in next week. Obviously, my older sister. And So I like the sights and sounds. I'll be watching that game. It was the Kansas's battle last year with the two Kansas schools.
Mm-hmm.
Watch that, and I'll be watching it. I already got that day planned, man. I go to the gym, come home.
10 a.m. kickoff.
It's
have
too
a
early
little
for
lunch,
nachos.
Watch the game.
Maybe second half. But yeah, absolutely. So get a read on, and I'll be pulling for the Big 12. Nothing against Belichick. I have no feeling for him. I'm neutral either way. But I want the Big 12 to have success in these non-conference games so they can get a second team in and then hopefully have success in there and then build from there. And with that in mind, the Cougars have this opportunity to just really shock the world, especially after, the double-digit wins. And, it was a big thing was Notre Dame last year not getting in the playoff, that's for sure. But I think BYU was a side story to that. They were mentioned. So 2 years ago, they weren't mentioned at all, which I don't understand. Last year, they were mentioned. They had honorable mention last year. Now, this year, they could get voted in.
Well, the storyline, if and when they get a third loss, the storyline changes. But until then, whether you're talking about the game, you're on the broadcast, you're writing whatever, it's, hey, they've had a couple of 2-loss teams that didn't get in. They've got 0 losses this year. They got 1 loss. They got 2. And here they are in the same situation or in a better situation. Are they going to get in this time?
Right.
So that storyline is,
I think
as it gets repeated, it just keeps building.
It builds. It snowballs.
It'll be 2.5 seasons into that storyline when they play Notre Dame.
Right. And if they should knock off the Irish, I think I might storm the field.
I don't really see that. You will not storm the field.
It's worth it.
First off, the media was down with like 4 minutes left. So
right.
you standing there, with some assistant athletic director who you knew since
so I'd already be there. The opportunity would be there. That's exactly.
He's going to be feet away
just
from
raise
getting...
the arms and just start running out to midfield and bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
Go find. Everyone else will be running Bear Bachmeier, but now after a couple of interviews, one of which you'll hear later today, go to Tiger. You'll go to Tiger.
I would be happy, extremely happy for the Cougar people. Yeah, no doubt about it.
You would be actually over in the corner because you would be on the field, and they probably would storm the field as they have after other big wins at home. So you'd probably be heading to the tunnel to be out of the way. So you get run over as people come flying out onto the field, not paying attention.
Nah, maybe security and drop a couple people, help them out.
What you really want, and this is where your long relationship with Brian Santiago, knowing him when he was working in the corner of Steve Cleveland's office when he first came to the campus.
Those are facts.
Yeah. You'd go to Brian and say, okay, Brian, here's my dream scenario. You beat Notre Dame to remain undefeated. I'll work with security to keep the field clear. And what I want is 2004 Fiesta Bowl style security. Can you put up a chain link fence? I'll grab a taser and it's game on.
Well,
throwing people back over the fence, that was your favorite.
Oh, that was something. Yeah, that was watching guys. There's actually they made a book. I wrote the introduction for it. They made a book on it, and it's like a picture book, and it's got a little bit of copy.
Did the Trib do this with all the photographers at the game?
I think they did, yeah. And so I wrote the intro and the front cover, blah, blah, blah. And there's a picture of guys trying to get off get on the field from the north end zone, and they did have a fence, and security is like setting them back up. It reminded
like volleyball.
Me, yeah. And then somebody would come in for the spike. These Ute fans, they storm the field at the drop of a hat. I mean, they lead the country in single storming for one game with 3. No one will ever top that.
That's the all-time record.
Yeah. So, and that year was a massive storming. When they beat BYU to go, and they were ready to go and all that, and so they were thinking they set up a stage probably close to midfield, but the Tempe people, they were determined that was not going to happen, which didn't seem like that was a stormable game because you kicked the crap out of Pittsburgh. It was a foregone conclusion, and then you did it.
Yeah,
they were like a 4-loss team or something. There was some thing that said they had to go out of the now defunct football Big East. Yeah. So I didn't see why you'd want to storm on that one. That didn't make any sense to me. The game was decided way early. It was not a last-seconder like some of these things that you had, or an overtime, what have you, in the way that BYU Utah have had so many of those games that really come down to the end and emotions are peaked. At that point, I mean, most of the Ute fans should have been long sauced, and it shouldn't have been a big deal. They should have hustled over to Mill Avenue and got a couple last calls.
Mill Avenue. Local knowledge.
I think most of the folks know Mill Avenue.
Yeah.
It's walkable from the stadium.
Okay, early votes were way early, but the vote right now seems split between Arizona and Notre Dame. 35% each. 21% for other and 7% for TCU.
I know there's a high percentage of Ute fans that know about Mill Avenue because they spent a lot of time there. Because that was the Christmas week, obviously. That was one of the most fun weeks I'd ever had.
So you don't have to fly in the day before the game or morning of like a regular season game. It's the holidays. You get to go down there. Is that the whole commercial district?
It's just a bar district.
Okay. It's not even like restaurants or shops and stores and stuff.
Yeah, but not really
not stores.
More
just eating and drinking.
Establishments.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many people. I was doing the morning show with you from the hotel, the media, and then doing the afternoon show with Gordon at a sports bar, McDuffie's, which isn't there anymore. And so many people were saying they were driving, and they were saying that they listened to us in the morning.
And then showed up, saw you, and then, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, it was the greatest week to date for Utah. Obviously, the Rose Bowl, certainly the first time, would be right up there. But the thing about it was so concentrated. Mm-hmm. You don't even have that now because the Fiesta Bowl is played in the Cardinal Stadium, which is way on the west side, and it's spread out. It's like Rose Bowl was spread out.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Everybody was concentrated. And if you went to Scottsdale, Scottsdale's the old town Scottsdale is like 3-4 miles away, not 25. Rose Bowl, people were spread out all. I mean, the massive amount of acreage there.
It's just,
and I was there that whole week too, and there wasn't that gathering. There was that gathering for the parade,
but that was really the first time.
Yeah,
because it's L.A. and everybody's all over the place,
right? And you got relatives that live down in Orange County, live who knows where, Riverside, blah 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 blah. Of course, San Bernardino. We know there's at least one former Ute in San Bernardino.
San Bernardino.
So you have that going on.
But some people are staying in Pasadena, but some people are staying by the airport.
And then you got
how you hanging on?
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm in San Bernardino right now.
We got the conclusive proof. Like we hung with the Monsons the whole time, and we went, I took them down to South Bay, and New Year's Eve day, we were hanging around Hermosa, which got tons of shops. I mean, that's a big entertainment area. And there was hundreds of Ute fans coming up and talk to us. Hundreds, literally. So they were all over the place. Whereas in Tempe and Scottsdale, man, you couldn't go 5 feet. And it was so cool.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is tickets, because Pitt was so... slightly above average and so far away.
And their
coach
whatever. Was leaving.
The coach is leaving. Yeah. They're just not going to travel that many people. Whereas Ohio State, who has a gazillion alumni everywhere, they get 50,000 tickets to Fiesta Bowl. You're not getting 50,000 tickets to the Rose Bowl. Ohio State's going to gobble up too many of them. Right. Plus, the Rose Bowl is such an event that people just go to it. So you're not getting 50,000 people in.
So that was I couldn't have had a better time that entire week.
So when do you think Utah loses for the first time? For BYU, it's Arizona, TCU, or Notre Dame, right? Games 2, 4, 6 seem like the biggest threats, stopping them from getting to 8-0 in Utah. We got other up. Maybe that is where you think it'll happen. So you can drop your comments. For Utah.
I'll tell you when we come back.
Oh, stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome to This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I mean, honestly, this is uncharted territory for Utah. Other than Witt like to change his offensive coordinator every 45 minutes, we have not seen a switch at head coach for Utah, hardly ever. I mean, they are the Pittsburgh Steelers of college football. Kind of had a couple of coaches, and they've all stepped in and been very successful.
I think Morgan probably will try and find the sweet spot in being a little bit more aggressive. If he tries to go full Mike Leach on it, Utah's going to learn some painful lessons. But
there's more room for error than Witt thought.
There is, and I think
in a good way.
And we saw that in the bowl game. Mm-hmm. Deep down, Witt is a soccer coach, and I don't think that Morgan is a soccer coach. And when I say that, I mean like, oh, you've got a 1-0 lead. Well, let's sit on that thing. Yep. Let's anchor it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Love that strategy.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. The thought, the possibility that BYU and Utah could both be undefeated when they play leads to the question, when will they suffer their first defeat? You can go to Twitter. The BYU poll question is up. It is time to launch the Ute poll question. When will the Utes get beat? They got Idaho in the opener. Arkansas and Utah State come in for the non-conference season. They open conference play at Iowa State, come back home for Kansas. Go to Colorado, home to Houston. You feeling a loss in there somewhere, PK? Cincinnati, Halloween Day in Ohio, and then it's the Cougs.
Yeah. I don't think they'll start the conference season 4-0.
Houston is the fourth game. So Houston gets them, or before that, at Iowa State, home to Kansas, at Colorado.
I'm going to go with they go in to the conference, which puts them in a good spot into the BYU game at 3-1.
They got 5 games, so you got to move them to 4-1 or 3-2.
I'm talking the conference.
In conference, yeah. Iowa State, Kansas, Colorado, Houston, Cincinnati. They got 5 conference games before BYU.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
I get 3-1 coming out of Houston.
So I won't go 5-0.
You won't go 5-0. So where does the first loss come?
I don't know.
Kansas, Houston, those are both home games, but in the preseason, those are the two that are getting talked up the most. Of the road games, at Iowa State, at Colorado, at Cincinnati, any of those look more difficult than the others?
They all do. I don't think they'll have a breeze on any of them. They're all going to be tough games. Maybe they roll over some of these teams. And maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe they're just friggin' undefeated through September and October. That'd be awesome. Love to see it. Love for both these teams to be undefeated going into November 7th, for sure. Yeah, I got no problem saying that. I just think winning 5 conference games in a row is hard.
And sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah.
And stuff goes wrong for you, or stuff goes great for them. One of these teams comes together, and maybe they're just absolutely flying.
Right.
Maybe it's right out of the gate. Iowa State, they bring a core of guys from Wazoo, and they get her done.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be pushovers. It doesn't seem to me that there's going to be a team that you can say, wow, we should really, really hammer them. Maybe Colorado. Maybe that might be the team that I would say most likely to be a lopsided game. As far as that goes, that would be my guess, and that's just what I'm doing. I'm just guessing. That's where I would put it. But I think all the others, I can't go out there and say, wow, that team is just, you ought to just crush that team by whatever, 30, 40 points. Doesn't seem likely to me that that's actually going to happen. Maybe it does. Maybe this team is just that good, and I don't think I'm underestimating them because I think that they have a chance to roll out a 10-2 season. I'm just saying starting 5-0, I think that's hard. Hard to do for anybody, for that matter. Considering in both years that Utah has been in the conference, no conference team has been able to do it and then go on and get the job done. Texas Tech had one loss. The year before, they all had two. Texas Tech had one loss, but I believe that was early. That was like in their third or fourth conference game.
I thought it was an October game.
It was an October game. Yeah. It was the same day as BYU and Utah. I know it was. It was the exact same day. And that was like October 17th last year. So with that in mind, yeah, that's the way I see it, is that that is just hard to do generally. I'm not looking at any specific game. I'm speaking generally.
You're playing the old Matt Harpering law of numbers game.
Yeah.
I get it. I think Kansas game 5, Houston game 7, both at home. At Cincinnati game 8, the pressure builds. The more you talk about it, and coaches always say, you ignore the noise, it's rat poison, and nonetheless, you can't really. Your friends, your family, social media, your teammates, somebody's going to be talking about it.
Injuries set in.
Yep.
You may have to sit out a guy for a game or two. He's got something that he can't go this week, but there's a good chance he can go next week. So you got that going on. Yeah, those things happen, right? They absolutely do happen. And you hope they don't happen, but they do. And they happen for everybody. It's not like they're just going to happen to you, although some teams get more hindered by injuries than others, but everybody does to an extent, especially because I've said a lot of times, based on my Pac-12 knowledge, is that it also matters when you play a team, because they might have their quarterback has to sit out for a week or two, and then he comes back.
You got the suspensions and the injuries, but also you have guys developing over the course of a season. So maybe you catch a team early, and then some guy comes on and dominates late.
Yeah. I think 5-0, man. I assume they're going to go 3-0 in the non-conference. I don't really think that's much of a question for me. But to go 5-0 in conference, man, that'd be flying high. Obviously, you couldn't ask for better. And that would set up a real big-time showdown, which, yeah, I want that. I want that. Absolutely want that. And have but especially, too, because by November, the game days and the Herb Streets and all, they seem to just talk about Ohio State. And that's the one thing that kind of sours me a little bit, is when you get into November, it's the same teams that they're talking about. Yep. And that's why I've stopped really thinking, I got to watch game day.
I'm there for and I've been here for long. Last 15 minutes for picks is plenty, and then I'm there for the 10 a.m. kickoff or whatever. Especially in the Pac-12 era, there weren't a lot of Pac-12 games early. Now there's always a Big 12 game at 10 a.m. I want to see.
And so there's nothing more that I would like to see is that November 1st week and that first Saturday in November, where the country's talking about two undefeated teams 45 miles apart. That at that point, you can't be ignored.
It's massive.
Yeah, right.
It's like we were saying earlier, given that they're starting 15 and 21, top 10, are they both top 8, top 6? How good is it? And it depends, back to the teams they're all going to be talking about. Is Ohio State still undefeated? Is Georgia still undefeated?
Well, they mostly are. And if they're not, then Texas is. Yeah. So they're choosing Texas, I can tell.
Sing it.
So they're going down that road. And here I am drinking Jack by myself.
Lyrics.
So I want that. I want, and if it's not, first choice is local. Second choice is ASU. Third choice is Big 12.
DJ PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, joins us. Tiger Bachmeier, BYU wide receiver, our conversation with him at 8:30. And Aaron Roderick, Cougar offensive coordinator, at 9. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the Zone. Next week, you can win tickets to see Motley Crue with performances by Tesla and Extreme at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on September 21st. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. DJ, PK, and we're joined now by Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Pablo, I'm curious if you're moving the pieces all over the chessboard. with Gozo, I don't know if you can give us any update on his situation, but he was so important to how your team attacked, and he provided goals, he provided assists, and even if he made a run and didn't get the ball, he had a certain gravity. Defenses want to know where he was, so if they're sliding towards him, it's creating space for somebody else. If he's not out on the field, which he wasn't Tuesday, and I assume he won't be tomorrow, you can update us, it looks different. What do you do? How do you coach the guys up to deal with that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does, and I think the last thing you said was probably the most important, which was he brought a lot of attention upon himself, moving the opponent's defenses and opening up spaces for guys like Diego, Morgan, and Serge. And so, I think that's why our attack this year has been so dynamic, is because we have a multitude of guys that can score goals, but the real dangerous ones are the ones that can stretch and get in behind, right? And Gozo has done that quite a few times this year. I think he was the one that had the biggest, the most big chances created. And again, it's because he runs in behind and he's going to goal, right? And those are always going to be big chances. So, we're gonna have to, learn to, adapt our game without him. That's obviously, and obviously we're talking about potential players that can come in and help us. And the one thing is you're not going to get another Gozo, right? There's a reason why he's going to the Premier League. It's because he's unique in the way he can run, and the way his sprint repeatability, his dynamism on the ball, his 1v1 skills. Like, that's why he's going to the best league in the world. So the update is still not done yet. There's nothing finalized. But it looks like it is imminent. And so, like you said, we're just going to have to figure out how to create some great chances without him. And to be fair, the other night, we had a couple really good looks, weren't clean in front of goal. We had a 1v1 with the goalkeeper, didn't finish that. So again, it's not that we're not creating chances. We just have to now execute and finish those chances in front of goal to realize the results that we need.
Will you go pull any of these guys aside and say, hey, now it's your time?
I think everyone knows that, PK. I think, we have Vic's been, wanting opportunities and now got one last week. We have a couple of young guys, Aiden Herzakani, who's chomping at the bit to get back on the field, and Lineker Rodriguez, another player that we've brought up from the Monarchs to the first team and wants an opportunity. So I think, these next couple games give them the opportunity to show their stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's whoever takes it and helps the team win is the player that's going to take the spot.
To follow up on that thought by PK there are a lot of guys who could take the spot, but you'd have to change the way you play if the guy is, if you're going to use a second striker, because old Tunje is a lot more like Salans than he's like Gozo. The guy who's like for like, where you could play the same system and plug and play, is Booth. Now, he's not as good as Gozo, but man, in the little bit we've seen him play, especially here recently, I mean, he just runs by a guy like Gozo. Like, he just takes the ball, looks at his guy, and boom, gone. See you, bye.
You're absolutely right, DJ. Like, and the crazy thing is with Zach is that he's never played this position before.
Oh, really? Never.
So he's always been a winger and never been a wing back. But what's really interesting is rarely, and that's what made Gozo such a unique wing back, is that his 1v1 ability really messes teams up, because now you got three guys on the front line. You have him coming in from one side, and then you have the other wing back. So you have five on the highest line. And, Juan on the left side is more of a combination player, getting to the end line, good service. And then you always want to counterbalance that with a 1v1 player. And I think Zach does have those abilities. He's shown that he can do that. And he continues to impress in that position. The one thing that it'll take some time is how do you continue to do that for 90 minutes, the sprint repeatability. And I think that's what Gozo had, that is world class. But there's no doubt that Zach can definitely be that guy that competes for that spot. And like you rightly pointed out, all those other front positions, we have Morgan, we have Diego, you have Sergi, and then the next crew are the guys that are competing for those spots to make sure we keep those front three positions as sharp as we can. And then whilst looking, maybe instead of replacing Gozo with a wing back, maybe we look to replace not replace, but bring in a player that can play multiple positions, that has experience in the attacking front three, and bring in another, wing back as well that competes with Zach Booth. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and we've met extensively as to what the steps are. But the important thing is that at least from my role, is that we get the most out of the group whilst those other guys aren't here yet.
After the game the other night, you're talking about Pablo Ruiz, and you mentioned multiple times that you were happy for him and all that, and he had to overcome a lot. Do you use him in terms of talking to guys? Because everybody's going to run into something, and you're going to have to overcome it, and you use him as an example.
Absolutely, PK. We always use any of the examples that we can use here, within our group are more powerful because the rest of the guys are living it as well, right? They know Pablo Ruiz, they know how long he's been at the club, they know his injury history, and how long he's waited. I think this year, I've had multiple conversations with Pablo Ruiz about his playing, and I said, well, the reason why I'm going with these other three guys are in the rotation, Pablo, was because before the break they were getting it done. And so now you just have to be patient, and patience sometimes comes in the form of someone else getting injured, which is so unfortunate, but it's also reality of sport. And so my whole thing with Pablo was, but are you going to be ready, right? Are you going to be prepared for that moment? And, oftentimes players, they want the opportunity, but then they've been so worried about getting the opportunity that they weren't focused on being prepared. And Pablo was prepared the other night, and it's so great, I think, because, again, now we're light in that position. And, for him to step up and play as well as he did on both sides of the ball, and then obviously score the goal that gave us an opportunity to win the game, is huge for his confidence. It's huge for the group. It now increases the level of competition within the middle midfield. So it has so many effects to a team. But you're absolutely right. It's a great story of perseverance, of overcoming obstacles. And, one of the things I talked to the group about yesterday is I heard this passage a while back, and it's if you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will begin to change, right? And so it's basically a mindset shift. How do you look at things instead of an obstacle, more like an opportunity? And we're talking about it from an individual perspective, but also from the collective as a group. Like, we can talk about Gozo not playing in that game, but now it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves in a different way. It's an opportunity for an individual to get on the field and show that he's got the ability to help the team. So that's really, and it all comes from all these human experiences that we live through here in soccer.
If I had to look at one parallel to the Pablo Ruiz story and getting him back in the form he was in 3 years ago would be, you'd have to play different, but it could be a massive asset for the team. I mean, it could be huge if he can really reclaim that on a regular basis. And the other guy I look at who's kind of in his shoes and on that path is Victor Olatunji. We only saw him a little bit. You got him late last year, but he scored 4 goals in 7 starts. And he looked impressive to me. I thought he defended with real intensity. You harp on that all the time. I thought, man, when he has a camp, a full season, they might really have something here. I mean, not 10 goals, maybe 15. He could really...
Maybe 20.
25. Yeah, I know, but that's the hype machine, and I'm out of control. And then, right, the week of the opener, he's training, he's playing hard, his teammates going hard, he gets kicked in the face, and the eye injury, which sidelined him for a long time. I never saw it, but I was told it was nasty and was very serious. And maybe he's not playing quite the same way, protecting himself the way Pablo protected himself after 2 major knee injuries. Is there a mental piece for Victor to break through? Because I thought, even though it's a small sample size, we saw it, he can do it, and he can do it in MLS.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's why the one thing, from a coaching perspective and why, I love our staff and the way we operate and really the philosophy of the club is we never give up on anyone. Obviously, we need to win games. And so there's always this competitive element to it. But the amount of video we go through, the amount of talking about life, because a lot of what happens off the field affects your performances on the field, making sure that everything's good off the field. And we've created a fantastic culture for these guys that even if they're not performing at their highest level, They know they're cared for. They know that we're all working towards the same goals to get them back on the field and compete in the right way. And I think, it's really hard. And the other element to Victor is also not only was he injured and out for a month with the eye thing, but then you see a real young guy come out of college and just light the league on fire, right? And so that also has a psychological impact on your confidence, and that's a real thing. And so I think the most important thing is getting Victor back to a place. And then you go back to the LAFC game where he had some amazing box movements, had 2 really good opportunities on goal. If one of those goes in, DJ, then it's a different player, right? Because the confidence really comes from scoring goals and the belief. You take more shots. You make harder runs because you're going to score versus you're in a bit of a rut. You haven't scored in a while, and there's a little bit of doubt. And the doubt leads to, should I make this run? And if you do make that run, when you're confident, you score the goal. So it's like the chicken or the egg. And the most important thing from a coaching perspective is that we continue to pump these guys up, to give them all the belief that we can so that when they go on the field, they believe in themselves.
If I remember correctly, earlier in the season in one of our interviews, we were talking about Gozo, and you were talking about, the possibility of him leaving was always going to be there because of his skill level and all that. And you were saying that, maybe one of the things that would like to be said to him would be that, you can really build something here. So the point is, did any of the management, did they try to do any of that as this story basically develops?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of conversations, right, and it involved obviously his family, Gozo, his agent, the club, and I think the one thing, PK, is every child that ends up playing soccer when they're really young, they start watching the Premier League, and it's the best league in the world, and it's where the best players play. It's the most televised league in the world. And so there's this other aspect of it where, rarely do you get offers from the Premier League, right, in MLS. That's is rare. Usually there are other leagues. And so, all those processes happened. And obviously I wasn't privy to a lot of the conversations that occurred at that level. But Gozo always said to me that his dream is to play in England. And so, I think, with players there's this thing where you obviously want to do everything to keep everyone here. But the reality of soccer is that it's a very almost transient sport where it's especially nowadays, it's so hard to keep everyone together for a long period of time because of these opportunities that pop up. And so I think, the organization did a great job of communicating clearly. But you obviously have to take in the players' dreams and aspirations as well. And so, like I said, I wasn't privy to a lot of those conversations, but I know all those conversations were had to do everything we could to keep Gozo. And, but at the end of the day, throughout all those conversations, we ended up in this spot. And, everyone's, Gozo's teammates couldn't be happier for him, because they put themselves in his shoes and go, man, I would love the opportunity to go play in the Prem. That's my dream, right? So we're all so happy that everyone had a little bit to do, with him getting there. The support during the training sessions from teammates' perspectives, watching them grow in these games and create these opportunities and score these amazing goals and set up teammates with assists. So it's going to have a different feel when you're now watching the Premier League and you see a teammate that was with you a couple of weeks ago now showcasing for some of the best teams in the world.
So from a club perspective, and I've seen a little bit of this out there, and they're not wrong. And once upon a time, there was a town hall. I don't know if you remember it or not, but I remember a fan getting up and throwing a question at Scott Crace, one of the minority owners. And I think this is still the question. It's still the issue. Everybody says they want to win. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows in this league, for the owners to make money, you probably ought to be selling players because they're not making enough money off TV. They're doing pretty well in other areas, but they're not making that kind of money there. So I get all that. The problem for RSL, and just for the average fan who's going to games, is that, and I'm oversimplifying here, but there was a year where you were invested in Andres Gomez and helping him come along, but because of the money you spent on him and the playing time you had to give him, and because he wasn't ready to produce at a winning level in MLS, the club took a little hit. Oversimplified, but just for the sake of argument. The next year, he can do it. He can do it, and he's doing it, and the club is flying, and he gets sold midseason. And you can't really recover from that within the season, and it kind of peters out. Now, that's 2 years ago. Last year, you're invested in Gozo, and there's flashes, but it was like 4 goals, 3 assists, I think. Like, he wasn't ready to produce at that level. But in a year with that investment, he's flying. Just 6 goals, 5 assists. You're in third place. You're great. And now you're going to get sold again, and it feels like if you're going to be selling guys, the talent has to come in, and either the next young guy has to be getting prepped, or you got to bring in a veteran who can just step in and do it, or you're never really going to get to the place you want to go.
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge, right? And I think that's what makes our league really unique. I think as a league, we're still undervalued. And so, like, again, if we were Vasco in Brazil and Gozo was on our team, he'd probably be sold for $60 million.
Ooh.
Right. And so
you just got PK's attention. That's how Thunderbird High rolls right there.
You know what I'm saying? But that is the reality of it. And I think that we're still, and there has to be trailblazers, right? And Gozo in this case is a trailblazer where, like, the more players that you sell from our league that continue to do well in these big leagues, now the value goes up. But there's this, it's not an inside joke. It's just understood that if you're a young player from Argentina, if you're a young player from Brazil, young player from Colombia, your value is 10x, or not 10x, but 5x what a player is sold from MLS. And I want to say it's not fair, but I think this is the place where we are in our league, where we're now selling players abroad. You got Sebastian Berhalter going to Middlesbrough. You had Aiden Morris going to Middlesbrough, and you're starting to see more and more young players leave Major League Soccer and go abroad and do really well. And so that's going to naturally boost up the transfer fees, and we're going to be on par with the rest of the world. And then now with $60 million, now you can really, to answer your question, DJ, now you can really bring in a replacement and go, okay, now we're going. But I think it's just a part of where we're at as a league. And we're still trying to prove to the rest of the world that we can develop great young players and they can be successful in Europe. And until we get that respect from Europe, it's hard to replace a Gozo. It's hard, but this is where we're at. And so, and I think from the coaching side, if I get caught up in all that stuff, DJ, then I don't do my job. My job is to get the most out of every player we have, continue to figure out schemes with our coaching staff as to how we can utilize the players that we currently have to be competitive, whilst we wait for some other players to come. But all my attention is not in the future; it's really in the present. And then that's why after games we talk about process all the time, because that is the only way to continue to maximize output. And so that'll be our focus here in the next few weeks.
Then as an organization, then can you use that as a recruiting tool? Hey, look what we helped develop.
Absolutely, PK. That is the one thing. And our academy has produced some unbelievable talent. We have great coaches in the academy system, great coaches in the Monarch system. Tony Beltran kind of heads the development piece and has done a great job. Our recruitment of young players from all over the country to come to RSL. You have guys like Luka Moisa, who started the season, has done very well. Aiden Herzakani has contributed a couple goals. Justin Glad has been here for X amount of years that came up through the academy system. And now you have Gozo, who's going to the Premier League. So it just feels like there's a lot of momentum. And when you're trying to when you're trying to recruit the best talent in the world, you have to have a proof of concept, right? And I think we as a club have established that. And now it's about how do we continue to build that using all the different mechanisms that are available to us in Major League Soccer, whether it's college draft, the academy system, bringing young players that aren't ready yet from abroad that we can develop, like an Andres Gomez or Fidel Baraja, these kind of players. And so I think as a club, we do a great job of utilizing all those mechanisms. But as you rightly pointed out, this Gozo situation should perk the ears of a lot of young kids all over the country that say, I want to get to where Gozo's at. And, and the other thing too is, as a club, like that's a part of our ethos is giving players the time to develop. And a lot of clubs say, like, we want to develop players, but they're playing 30-year-olds all over the field, where I think proof of concept again, we're playing these guys when we need to win games as well.
Right.
I do think that story you told us when you were on, it was the last time or the time before that, it has stuck with me, Pablo. That whole deal about you went down to Argentina and then you saw clubs there busing kids in from small towns and countryside and rural areas, and they didn't even have shoes. And it's like, this was their chance. And this whole, all during the World Cup, the U.S., it's all pay for play. Like, there's only 30 MLS teams. 3 of them are in Canada. There's 2 teams in New York and L.A. There's only 25 cities where there's an MLS team. And then there's various, how serious and how invested are they in their academy. That leaves a lot of cities and towns. I mean, I just think your story replicated. There's got to be talent out there. Who's driving around finding it? And how do you set up those tryouts? That times 1,000. And Tony Beltran is sitting somewhere shaking his head like, thanks, DJ. But it really, the club that does that first, and somebody will eventually, seems like a huge advantage. That was such a poignant story you told.
Yeah, no, there's so much. I mean, again, there's this country's huge and vast, and there's a ton of unbelievable soccer players. And even in my case, where I had to be sponsored to play for the Olympic development team growing up because my parents didn't have the money to pay for it. And there's always an unbelievable family that took the chance and paid for a trip to go to wherever to play in these little tournaments. And then I got scouted, and we happened to play against a team in Texas that was also coached by the under-17 national team coach. So there's a ton of these things, and there's a ton of great people that want to help, the underserved population to scout up the next. But we have more than enough talent in this country, and like you rightly pointed out, it just has to be discovered. And how we go about doing that, I think we have a great network of a great process here at our club that discovers these talents. But I think as a country, we have to do a better job. Because if you go into a lot of these urban inner cities, there's so many talented players that fall by the wayside because they just don't have the means to be able to play in these organized leagues.
Pablo, when you say that's the ethos of who we are, that sounds so deep. And I just got to say, it makes my 2.3 GPA that I graduated from Thunderbird with look even better.
Yeah, I think I've gotten smarter as I've gotten older, PK. I don't think I was this guy as a matter of fact, I know I wasn't this guy at Thunderbird High.
Pablo, we'll leave it right there for now. Good luck tomorrow night. Game 2 in the League's Cup, and we'll hear it here on the air tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, DJ and PK. We're going to take a break. Coming up, Tiger Bachmeier, BYU wide receiver. Well, our conversation with him next, and Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I think the Jazz want to make the playoffs this year, and they really have no motivation for not making the playoffs this year because their draft pick goes to the Memphis Grizzlies in the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. How motivated are the Jazz actually going to feel to maximize the win total of this roster using all the assets available to them to get there? My guess is it's actually not as high as fans would think because they don't have to do anything exactly right.
The truth is they are dedicated to it. But that doesn't mean they have to do anything about it right now.
Sure.
But no, not one person in that building, if you went up to them and said, hey, is the Bosnian Beak your answer at center? Not one of them is going to say yes.
Right. Or Jackson Hayes.
Or any of that. No, they're not.
Yeah.
So, yes, they do need to address the problem, for sure. Do they need to address it right now?
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. No, why would they?
Catch Jake and Ben, afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, and we are here with Tiger Bachmeier, and half the team making noise behind us. This is your moment in the sun. They need to hold it down.
Yeah, no, it's great. We just finished practice about 20 seconds ago, and then we got the cold tubs. Everyone jumps in. We got Coach Phyllis yelling and putting it on a timer. But it's probably the most shocking thing after a long day of practice, you just got to jump in the ice and hold your breath while you're at it. So.
It'll wear you out. We talked to you a year ago. How different does it feel right now versus 1 year ago? How much more have you adapted to everything here, the program, the teammates, the coordinator, the philosophy, everything?
Yeah, I guess the best way that I could put this is having a place to be on Sunday nights. And the way I put it like that is because when we first got here, you're a new person and you're still getting to know the guys. And now a year later, it's like any given Sunday, you'll find us at a teammate's house, at the Clark's house, having steak and potatoes, and that's kind of the same type of thing for the offense. You feel comfortable with the offense for Bear and myself, being able to be at a different point in the offense, and that's what a year does to it.
So with that more comes naturally. What can that mean in terms of production?
In terms of production and as the offense, we're going to be great. We got weapons and we got a good guy back there. It's hard for me to say that sometimes, but you got to keep a good head on his shoulders. But giving more and feeding him a little bit more on his plate and let him make a little bit more decisions. And then, getting the world to show. I think I've said this last year, probably on the interview, but letting the world see a little bit more of the Bear that I know. So.
Well, let's dive into that a little deeper because you are his biggest critic and you are his biggest fan at the same time. I remember that from last year. Like in 10 seconds, you can flip the switch and go from biggest critic to biggest fan and right back and forth. How have you seen him evolve, and what do you think? He still is going into his sophomore year here. What is the next thing for him? What do you feel like he's on the verge of doing that you can see because you know him better and maybe we don't see it coming?
Yeah. No, it's a good thing that last year he came in and he was put on this pedestal of leadership, and he started to take on that role right away. And now going into this year, the biggest thing that's different is people are expecting so much from him, and so it's good for him to see that perspective of being a leader too. Most leaders, when they step into the position, people are expecting or they're criticizing everything he does, and that's going to be his whole life for the next part of his career. People are going to be criticizing or people are going to be praising him for all this stuff. So just him taking full ownership of that and taking care of the team, taking care of every decision and owning it like it's no other.
How much didn't he show last year that he is actually capable of showing? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Bear and I played high school together. My junior year, actually Brandon Rose was the quarterback, and he was at Utah 2 years ago. He actually played against BYU, and so he was the quarterback my junior year. So Bear didn't actually play with me my junior year, but he went in for when we were up beating teams. And Bear's very, very first play. His very, very first play of high school football, he hurdled someone. His very first play. So it was off to a start, and he's just a highlight reel in the making. And so there's a lot of highlight plays that are going to happen this year from him.
This time of year, there are always questions, but whether we're getting quizzed by people or we're just chatting up BYU fans, it always comes back to the wide receiver group. There were so many guys a year ago who were proven and really established, and realistically, you're just not taking Chase off the field. It's not going to happen. Now, there's opportunity because those guys aren't there. I think it makes people nervous because there's nobody they can look at and say, oh yeah, I know this guy, I know that guy, and I know they're going to do it for sure. How is that all playing out in the room as you all try to, there's a lot more air in the room than there was a year ago.
Yeah, it makes people nervous to see us having an offense that's been electric for the past 20 years. So you tell me, look at the data and tell me in September if we're worried about the receiver room. So we're going to be great.
Okay, who's a better musician?
I'm a little bit more classically trained. Bear's probably, I would give him as a performer, probably a little bit more out there, but I think I'm a better musician.
That QB charisma, huh?
Yeah, he's got a little bit, maybe like 1% more charisma than me.
So I've listened to the stuff. In fact, I've bought a couple of tunes on iTunes of yours, and you're kind of all over the place. If you had to narrow it down, what's your go-to?
As listening to music? Mm-hmm. Oh, I love old blues music, old gospel music, and then a lot of R&B and new country that's coming out.
New country.
See, there you go. There you go. All right.
And that's what we played. That's what we played a lot. That's what we played a lot of. So.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I call some Jimmy Buffett.
That was a fun song to play.
Tiger, thanks for a few minutes. We appreciate it. Good luck this year.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And keep at it. Let's go. Let's go. Get excited, Cougs. I'm super excited for the season. It's close. It's close but far. Thank you.
There is BYU wide receiver Tiger Bachmeier. And listening to that, I'm reminded of the quote that you love from Dave Rose. It's basketball, not football, but I think it applies here. Where are the program guys? It's great to bring someone in with the measurables, and they've been touched by the fill in the name of the sport gods, and they're awesome. And, AJ DeBonsa. But you got to have the program guys, someone who comes in. They're big enough. They're not huge. They're fast enough. They're not the fastest. And they get a year in the program, they get a second year in the program, and all their work starts paying off.
We'll see if that's the case for him.
Yeah.
He's got a very good personality. He's a good interview, and seems like a happy kid, upbeat. And so you root for kids to have success who are like that, because it seems like he's got it going on. And he likes today's country. And anybody who likes today's country, you're my guy. You're my gal. What do you think, Yak? You think he's an Ella fella?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You have to be.
Who's not at this point?
And I don't see how anybody is not. I really don't. I don't think you're looking at it objectively if you're not, because she's a draw. I mean, the bangs do it for me.
Okay, that is the number one thing that comes up about her looks are the bangs.
Exactly. Well, duh.
I know, but it's funny to me that we go straight to the Farrah Fawcett look that she's.
The bangs have got to. They work.
They do, but
they work for her. They work for me, and he's looking up a picture of her right now.
Well, because have you seen?
Ooh, look at those long bangs.
Did you even know who we're talking about? That's my question.
I do.
No, I've educated him a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told him. Yeah, I told him. Maybe you were gone that day, but I told him, hey, there's
just don't bring this up with Gary LaVox, by the way. Did you hear about this?
I knew the song. Bring up what?
So Gary LaVox, who's the lead singer of Rascal Flatts, who's a pretty noted country music artist.
Yeah, Life in a Highway.
He's
I get all that.
Pretty tired of Ella fellas, apparently.
Well, he's jealous.
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, she is the story of the summer in music.
Absolutely.
Not just country. Yeah. And Tiger Bachmeier, I'm sure he's an Ella fella.
Has to be.
And I'm not a big tats on women, but I'll make an exception for her.
She must be so relieved to hear that. Oh, thank goodness PK's okay with it. Rex Ryan got quoted about that.
He's an Ella fella.
Yeah. Saw her in Baltimore. Had Baltimore in the palm of her hand.
She did. She's the hottest thing right now as we speak. But I would expect Bachmeier to have some more on-field production, to have the opportunity to make more of an impact statistically. But, and you'll hear the interview with Aaron Roderick coming up, he talked about a kid like him who understands the game at a better level because of his experience, that he can do things that maybe don't show up statistically. Like he was talking about a block that he made that sprung LJ for a bigger gain. And those things are important too. So there's a lot more. That's why I'm not just a statistics guy. They're not the be-all, end-all. That there's so much more that goes into winning, whatever sport it might be. It doesn't matter. Every sport, it's hard to win, and there's a level of complexity in all sports that everyone must be doing in order for you to win. And that's an example that, it won't show up that he did this or that, but those guys look at the film inside out, and they see that. And so I expect more of that, even if the receptions are not more plentiful than they were this year. He'll understand the game more. And you need guys like that. You need team guys that understand, hey, when this is over, it's over. So I'm going to make everything right now. I'm going to make the most of it because I'm not worried about my touches because it's not going to be there.
Right.
And particularly in this sport where, they have the Canadian League, obviously, but, in basketball, there's 100 different leagues you can go play in. And so forth. So, and you just talked to Pablo. Obviously, there's leagues all over the place there in that sport, and so you can be a little more selfish because you're trying to get yours. Here, getting yours. He just doesn't have the physical size to be a big time guy, but he can contribute and have a great time along the way and help the team win. And obviously he's excited about that. You can hear it in his voice.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, talks about Tiger coming up top of the hour. So stick around. We will have that. We've also got time to talk about, and we got the poll questions up. When will Utah and BYU lose their first game? The poll questions are up. There's some obvious possibilities. Obviously, there could be some surprises. You can go to X, go to Twitter, vote, and we will update you on that coming up. Join Scotty G and the coach Tuesday, August 11th at the ballpark at America First Square with Mountain Supplies Customer Appreciation Day. They're going to have swag, knowledgeable vendors, food, raffles, batting practice on the field, bring your glove, and a mini golf tournament. You don't want to miss it. We will see you there August 11th. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Earlier this morning, we were talking college football, and we were talking about the odds of Utah, BYU, or both entering the rivalry game undefeated that first Saturday in November. Can they get to 8-0? When will Utah lose for the first time? When will BYU lose for the first time? Some of the nominees for the Utes: home to Kansas, Game 5, home to Houston, Game 7, at Cincinnati, Game 8. None of that really resonated with the people. Other, 54% of the votes. I suspect they're looking at 8-0 in the BYU game, PK. 24% did pick Houston. 18% said Kansas. 7% said that Cincinnati game. But mostly, they're looking elsewhere on the schedule. And it's like you said, it could happen in the first 3 games of non-conference, but they don't lose many non-conference games, and these 3 don't really set up as any they should lose. They're all home. Arkansas is the only power opponent. They're coming off a 2-10 season. Sets up to be 3-0. Which then gets you pointed, okay, there's 5 Big 12 games before you hit the BYU showdown. So where?
Yeah, I don't know where. I wouldn't bet on any of them, but I would bet on one of them. That
take the field. No, it's take the field.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the 3 non-con. I'm fully expecting them to go 3-0. There's no doubt about it. The first 5 before BYU, because BYU's the 6th, I just assume there's going to be a loss in there. It's hard. No one's done it. Texas Tech, I think, started 3-1 last year.
So even the best taking the early L.
Yeah.
Maybe the one who did the best was BYU when they went 7-2 and didn't go to the title game. Didn't they lose late?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kansas was their first one. And that was awesome. But things happen in this game. It's really, really hard to do. Yeah. Things happen. There's no question about that. And so with that in mind, I just feel like for Utah, something is going to happen.
BYU was 5-0 last year when they lost to Texas Tech, and they were 6-0 when they lost to Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got it done.
It could happen.
And maybe that could happen for Utah, and then they stumble in November.
On paper, sitting here right now, their November looks much more difficult than their September or their October.
See, I think October's difficult, but I get your point. You can go more difficult. I don't think it's an easy schedule. Conference games have a way.
They do. But sitting here right now, their only back-to-back road games are in November, and they're both against teams that we think are top half of the league, and maybe better than that, but certainly top half with Arizona and TCU. And the BYU game, we always look at it as a massive test, and it's in November. So the fact you get those 3 in a row, that's why as we sit here now, I say November's harder than October.
I fully expect them to be 1-1 in November, the first 2 games. I don't know which ones.
Yeah, no, I get it. Sweeping those 2 would be really hard. And I think that TCU game is hard. If they come out of those 3, 1-2, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And the fact is, and again, the law of numbers, but if they were 9-0 in the other games, it wouldn't be a total shock. It'd be maybe a surprise, a mild surprise, because stuff happens. But maybe if they drop one of those games and they go 9-3, that's on paper would be how it shakes out.
I can see that. That's a fair assessment in my mind. I still think that's a pretty good season.
BYU's a huge test to play a team as good as Arizona the next week when there's bound to be some kind of emotional letdown, physically beat up after a tough game. That Arizona's got to be really happy They still got to go out and do it, but they got to be really happy. Like, that's a good time to play Utah.
At home, yeah.
Yeah. And then TCU gets them on the second week of back-to-back. And I think when you talk to coaches away from cameras and microphones, when they have to say, we take them one at a time and we're not looking ahead and anything can happen on any given day, then privately they'll be like, yeah, that's good. Get them on the second week of a back-to-back, get a team coming, from another time zone or whatever. Great.
Oh, for TCU's perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were probably pretty happy when they saw what Utah had to do before they show up in Fort Worth.
Yeah, when you look at the schedule, I'm sure that goes through your mind, and you're always expecting to protect your own turf there and all that stuff.
But back to two words you uttered earlier that just carry weight in sports: the field. And for anyone who's balking at that right now, like, you guys are down on hey, this is why you get to say your predictions suck. Here's where you missed. We can't predict it, and just know the odds are it's going to happen somewhere. And that's why people miss on their predictions.
And I fully expect to miss on mine. That's why I don't bet on them. I advise you not to bet on my predictions either.
And there you go. All right, now as far as BYU, when will BYU lose for the first time? The games we spotted before that showdown with the Utes: Arizona at home, game 2, at TCU, game 4, home to Notre Dame, game 6, or somewhere else.
Well, when's the national championship game?
It's late January. It's super late. What is it, Yak? Is it like the 23rd or something? 26th?
I'd say the 19th or the 20th.
It's way late.
And this PCSA, the Protect College Sports Act, has a provision in it that they're saying that the national championship needs to be done by January 8th at the latest. They want to get it up closer to New Year's Day if at all possible.
But they haven't voted on that thing.
No, but I'm just saying that there are movements to get it where it's...
movements. There's always movements in this country. It's just hard to keep track of all the movements.
Easy. I could see this spinning out of control.
Movements.
Monday, January 25, national title game, PK. There it is.
Monday, January 25. I was surprised you didn't look it up. I gave you something to look up, and Nevada. You went to him.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
You only got another week.
I just thought he was too early.
I expect him to lose before then. I expect everybody to lose before then.
Indiana beat the odds.
Yeah. But the expectation is you'll have them. The Cougars...
39% of the people say Notre Dame will provide the first loss. 29% think it'll be Arizona game 2.
I think there's a decent possibility there. But if I'm BYU, I would be jacked if I play the Irish tough and I lose, and that's my first loss, because that means I've gone through a couple of good conference opponents, and I've set myself up. The Notre Dame game is nice, and it's a marquee game, and it's something.
And you want to win it, it'd be a huge boost.
Yeah. But, the conference games and getting to the conference final and then having that opportunity to win that game to get the playoff bid automatically, that's really where it's at. But it is Notre Dame, and it's huge. Notre Dame, anytime you get to play BYU, Notre Dame gets to play, or BYU gets to play Notre Dame, it is something, man. It always is something.
And your point, they'd be 3-0 league. So, healthy start.
Right. You'd be
looking good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you get ready for the stretch run, because that's a tad past the midway season, but you still have a bunch of conference games left. And they've got some tough conference games. The ASU game on Halloween Day, that could be really tough. We'll see. It could, maybe not. Utah will always be tough. There's no question about that. We saw that 2 years ago when their team wasn't very good, and they took them right down to the final seconds, obviously. So that one will be.
And Jay Drew, when he was on, circled the UCF game, and UCF doesn't sound like the best team, and they're a little removed from their glory days, and they haven't had much success in the Big 12. But you got to fly cross country the week after Notre Dame, and just what we just said about the rivalry game. There'll be a lot of emotion. Will everybody be healthy after the Notre Dame game? Then you fly cross-country to play a team. How much energy do you have for that game?
Yeah,
I agree.
Surprises
you're traveling 2 time zones. That tends to lead to poor results.
That's why you don't scoff at any conference win.
And that's why coaches do the whole one game at a time thing, and we're focused on the next
2 years
opponent.
ago, when BYU was flying high in their strong run to a potential undefeated season, they literally needed every second to beat a crappy Oklahoma State team.
That was a dramatic and entertaining game.
Yes.
And they could have messed it up, and
So,
OSU was a mess.
I take nothing for granted in this any conference, and particularly this year for these guys. Any conference win you get, you should jump up and down.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're taking a break. When we come back, BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. His thoughts on the wide receiver position, the progression of Bear Bachmeier, his decision to tweak a little bit everything, and his own, he's stunned at how long he's been coaching. A-Rod's next. Stay with us. DJ, PK, and we are here with BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Look at the relaxed body language. You've done this drill before. You've got this down. What is new to learn, Aaron? You've been around the block a few times now.
Yeah, can't believe how many years I've been doing this. I think this is year 26 now. I was at Utah for 12 years, and I think this is year 9 here. So I love it. It's the first day out here, back on the grass with the players. It's really fun.
As we look at this team, we expect big things from Bachmeier, and I can remember you came on our show, and it was after Retzlaff's first season. And going into that offseason, now we know what happened, but that's not the point of the question, is that you listed some stats that you were expecting from him, and they were considerably higher than completion percentage than what he was his first year, and he didn't get an opportunity. But now we got Bachmeier, who's going to have that opportunity. Are you expecting the same type of level of production that you anticipated from Retzlaff if he had played that second year with Bachmeier now in his second year?
Yeah, I think Bear is definitely capable of it. We don't talk a lot about stats here. Some stats are winning stats that are worth talking about. We don't talk about yards and let's lead the league in this or that. But we want to be 3-to-1 touchdowns to interceptions. Last year we were just over 2-to-1. I'd like him to be 3-to-1 this year, and I'd like to be around 70% completions. If we can hover in that 70% completion range, then there's going to and take better care of the football, there's going to be more explosive plays. And so that's part of the goal. Our big years on offense were, Zach 30-something touchdowns, Jaron 30-something touchdowns, 70% completion range. Those have been our great years on offense. And again, it's not like something we talk about every day, like, hey, we got to hit these marks. But we're trying to gear the offense in a direction where Bear can have that type of success.
I had a professor at UC Santa Barbara who said once, there's liars, there's damn liars, and there's statistics. The point of that is statistics are even worse than these two forms of liars. So I'm curious to dig a little deeper on that stat. 3-to-1 ratio, but when a quarterback runs the ball as well as he does, you add in the rushing touchdowns because maybe he doesn't throw it in from the 7-yard line because he runs it in from the 7-yard line. And how do you factor that in? Because fans are going to listen to this, and they're going to be holding you accountable for those numbers in October.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're not harping on the numbers, okay? Those are goals. Those are winning numbers that are out there that are achievable. They're not easy, and he's a sophomore, so I'm not saying this has to happen right now. Those are things we're working towards in his career. I think he is capable of that, though, and you're right. Bear's an elite runner. I mean, he's as good of a running quarterback as I've ever seen in college football, and so that does factor into our, the equation. Sometimes when we're in the red zone, the space gets condensed in the passing game, and the quarterback run game is the thing that sort of balances it out. You equate numbers with the QB run, and so he's a threat, and we're going to run him less this year, but he's still a weapon in that area.
When you say you're going to run him less, why?
Well, just want to keep him healthy. At the end of last season, he was pretty banged up, and in the championship game and then in the bowl game, he played really well in the bowl game. But that bowl game was kind of more like the formula we want to play with this year, where we ran him a little less, threw it a little more, and we didn't have LJ in that game. So if we can kind of have that type of formula, but we're still handing the ball 20 times to LJ, I think that's going to be a formula for success.
I love how coaches, as they really settle into a place and a philosophy, they get real detail-oriented, and the details can matter a lot. One thing about Bear running, a lot of times quarterbacks do well outside the hash marks, maybe out by the numbers because there's space and there's speed and they can run away from the big guys and they don't get hit. But you ran him a lot between the tackles. He was north-south guy. Right. He didn't try to get out. What's the logic behind that? Does it change over time?
Yeah, he's a north and south runner. He's not a beat you with speed around the edge type of guy. He does run well. He has good speed, but he's a very north and south runner. And he's 240 pounds. Last year I think he was close to 250 by the end of last season. We've got him leaned up.
So was DJ.
He's a little leaner this year, and
me too.
He has unbelievable strength numbers in the weight room. I mean, he's as strong as they get, and so he's a good north and south runner. And even when he, a lot of his quarterback scrambles are step up, there's a crease, and go north. He hits it, and so he's very, very good at that. We just want to do it a little less. Just a few less hits. Let's get through this conference play healthy and strong. That's the goal.
So that's not just a you play calling thing. We've had Riley Jensen on, and just a little bit of coaching he did. He's like, you got to break down the QB run game. What's designed, what's called, and what's just ad lib because of the way a pocket breaks down. So. 5 per game of one, 7 of the other. How do you?
That's a good point. Yes. So it's partly play calling. It's partly our game planning. If you're putting a QB run in every situation of the game plan, then he's going to end up with a lot of carries. So there's certain situations in the game plan where we have to resist. Like, okay, it'd be easy to put a QB run here, but let's get another touch for LJ, or let's get a ball to one of our receivers on a jet sweep or something. And then you got to pick your spots where those QB runs are going to be in your game plan, and then when you get to the game, you got to just make sure you're not overusing them. And then the other part of it is just him being a good decision maker about in the passing game when to run, when it's worthwhile to take a hit, when it's better to just throw the ball away and play the next play. We're working our way through those things too.
How much do you need more time to establish a depth chart there?
At quarterback?
Yeah.
If we played today, Trayson Bourget would be number 2. He's doing a really good job. He knows our offense well. I have a lot of confidence in him. And then Enoch Watson, though, is right on his heels. That guy is talented. He's got really, really a high ceiling, and he is learning the offense and handling it really well. Like he's done a great job. So a lot of confidence in him too. If we played today, it'd probably be Trayson, but we're still working our way through that.
Speaking of keeping people fresh, who can you give the ball to at running back other than LJ so he's not getting hit as often?
So Sione Moa is finally fully healthy. Now, he's had some bad luck in his career up to this point, but when he has been healthy, he's been a really good player. I mean, he's one of the best players on this team. And then I'm super excited about Devon Eka and the improvement that Preston Rex has made in the offseason. We moved Preston to running back last year, mid-season. He was a safety, trying to learn to play running back, and it was asking a lot. He did some good things in the passing game in the open field because he's really fast. But this offseason, he's actually learned to play the position, and I think he's going to do some good things for us this year too. So right now it'd be those 4 guys I see a lot of good things out of, and then there's some other younger guys that are trying to work their way up too.
Any emphasis more on camp to find a primary receiver or receivers? Because obviously you lost a lot from that position.
Yeah, I mean, every day we're giving those guys chances. We're going to put some big guys on the field, though. We put Kyler Casper and JoJo out there on the field together at 6'5" and 6'6", and both are good players. JoJo is, that injury he had last year was really serious. We don't talk a lot about the details of that stuff, but it was a tough injury, and one that even when he came back, it just every single ball you catch or every time you hit the ground or anything, there's a lot to it, and he's had a great offseason. I think JoJo's time is now, and then Kyler Casper has done great things since he's been here, and then Reggie Frischneck's doing a great job. Tiger Bachmeier's really improved. I have confidence in him. I'm probably going to forget somebody, and Legend Glasker, freshman, he will play this year. He's good. So those are our guys right now. I'm probably forgetting someone, but I believe in those guys. They'll step up. And we're better at tight end than we've been, too, so that's the other part is the tight ends can help supplement that.
You say better. Carson Ryan was really good. So you're just talking depth-wise?
Yeah, depth-wise. I mean, I think these two guys are – I don't want to compare them to Carson. Carson did such a great job for us, but they are they're in that realm of what Carson did for us, and we have more depth there than we've ever had since I've been here.
You talked at the top about, your quarter-century coaching. So along the way, you've worked with a lot of people. You had a year with Norm Chow when you were up at the U. And when Norm was here, there were similar questions about wide receiver group one year. And you know how Norm gets sometimes, right? He just kind of gets because he goes, guys, we've run this offense for a long time. The receiver who can run the pattern, make the break at 8 yards, not at 6, not at 9, but at 8, cut, and catch the ball if it's thrown to him. He can play. And he'll move the chains, and we'll get in the end zone, and we'll win games. Just do what you're supposed to do. The scheme will work for you. It's awesome to have all these physical attributes and to be able to win the 50-50 balls, but are you at a point where it's, guys, if you run the pattern, the scheme's going to work for you?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of just being reliable that makes the offense go. It's the most – you want to invest in your most talented players for sure, and your most talented players should be your best players, but sometimes there's certain parts of the game or certain situations where you just need somebody that's reliable that can go get the job done. And Tiger Bachmeier is one of those guys. Like, he did some things for us last year that probably nobody noticed, but he was in the right place at the right time and makes a block that springs LJ on a run, or he sits down in the zone coverage where he's supposed to be, catches a ball, and moves the chains on third down. Some of those things that don't take a ton of talent, that just take someone who's tough and smart and reliable. There's always a place for guys like that to play here, and that's been the deal here for a long time, right? There's a long time where BYU offense has just been about being reliable and executing, and that's still true.
All right, well, congrats on another year. Stay one step ahead of the posse. That's the rule in the coaching profession. You're doing a good job of that.
Yeah, 1 year at a time.
All right.
As soon as you think you're this game will humble you fast.
Yeah,
I've learned that the hard way over the years. I've learned to enjoy the wins more, but this game will humble you, and we have to stay humble and be ready to go every week.
Hey, Rod, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
There is Aaron Roderick, and he can't tell us, PK. We both wanted to ask. We both want to know. All right, what part of the game plan are you leaving the QB run game out, and where are you keeping it? I would assume red zone, priority number one, because he's very good at getting the ball in the end zone. And probably third and short, fourth and short situations, and then he better start being careful, because otherwise he's going to be up around 10 or 15 runs a game.
Yeah, and I think that's a wise thing to do, actually, is to back off the run game as much as possible for the quarterback, because you're just playing odds. And sure, he's a fine north-south runner, but, the whole defense is going to be geared to get in his face every time, because they know, wow, he must be really smart to be able to process that as a freshman who didn't even have spring ball, blah, blah, blah. So you got to stop Bear. You got to stop LJ. You got to stop their run game first, or else they'll just run it down your throat all day long. And, that's the way you get beat, and that's the way the team controls the games. That's why Whittingham has been preaching that for decades. He's probably 5 years old, and his mother said, what are you doing today? I'm going to figure out ways to stop the run.
I think this is where your argument about stats, be careful, they don't tell the whole story, really rears its head in the QB run game, because there are runs where you get hit hard twice. So back to your point about odds, there's two chances to get hurt. There are runs where you get hit hard once, and there are runs where you don't get hit at all. So we can't just look at the 7 carries or 11 carries or whatever it turns out to be. But if you get hit hard and then you get driven into the ground, that's two opportunity. We've seen guys get hit with a collision. We've also seen guys hit when someone lands on them or drives them into the ground. And sometimes you just get tackled. There's that one collision. Sometimes you just get shoved out of bounds. Uh-huh. Sometimes you score standing up untouched, or you run out of bounds, or you slide. And so I think all that has to be factored in. How many times a game does he get hit? And not just tackled. You got to count not only get tackled there, but that dude drove him into the ground. That's a chance to mess up a shoulder.
Yeah, and then I think, talking to him in the offseason, he plans to do cartwheels and upright jumps and stuff when he scores.
Okay, see what you did there. Yeah, a little scattaboo backflip kind of thing right there.
Yeah, so he's planning.
Chance to blow your knee.
He wants to show, the NFL that he's nimble. So he was talking about starting at one side of the end zone and doing backflips like a gymnast all the way over.
Show the NFL you're nimble by running under the goalpost and then holding the ball above your head to the crowd so you can get the roars and the adoration of the tens of thousands of people at the game. That's good enough. You don't need a backflip, man. Just run through the back of the end zone with the ball over your head. I'm the man. I did it again. Touchdown.
If you scored and then hand the ball to the ref and then went out of bounds off to your side and did a backflip, would that be a celebration?
Probably. Probably would be. But I get your point. At some point, you're not right in their face.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't do it because there's too many people, but if you're inside the box that they're allowed to be in, that 40 or 50 yards.
No, you can do it. It goes from the 20s, I think.
Oh, is it 20 now? Okay.
If you do that, though, and then everybody knows, okay, you'll do it, you'll wait, you'll have like a 2-minute cooling off period, and then you do it on the side.
On your way back to the sideline, once you get past the numbers, right?
But
then
you're on the sideline, you're out of bounds, and the referees have started going back, and then the kickoff people and kick return start getting out on the field, and then you do it.
That can be a taunting celebration if the refs are gone and the other team's gone to their sideline.
That's the way you ought to do it. I've just created a whole way for guys to celebrate.
The only problem you have is you get over there and there's all the hangers on, all the people in the sideline passes.
Get the crap out of the way.
The cheerleaders are over there. There's media over there.
They know. Scoot out.
Clear out. Backflip guy's coming.
Right. It's like when they blow that cannon thing. No one's standing right there.
Yeah, I've been busted by that before.
Well, you're dumb.
I am. I agree.
Finally, we've reached common ground.
Yay! Break time. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
From top to bottom, this is the most talented team the Kalani Sitake's ever had at BYU. And that includes his first year when he had Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams. This is as good of a complete team. Now, I know there's some question marks at wide receiver. Totally get that. But I also look at it from the depth. They've got it. The quality, the high-end players, they've got it. I just think this team is absolutely loaded, and we're going to see it on display.
And the questions will get answered quickly. The receivers that you choose have to go out on the field, and they have to run their routes and catch balls, and they catch balls and make plays. You'll start to get to know them better. They'll become more than just a name on a page. And then on Utah's side, nationally, both teams ranked in the top 25. BYU considered a contender, and Utah a dark horse. You guys are in the conversation. Now it's just go do it.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it is time now to get you up to speed on anything you might have missed in this show. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We talked to RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. They're at home tomorrow night, second game in the League's Cup. We talked with Tiger Bachmeier and Aaron Roderick. BYU really turned everybody loose. It was freewheeling chaos. It was good old days down there, PK, on the opening day. You requested multiple people to talk to, and they just kept providing them. And we actually were busy talking to one person with another person waiting. We had to wave off a third potential interview because I can't do three at once. Yeah, it would have been a fourth potential interview. We aired two today, and wherever you get your podcast, you can go listen to defensive coordinator Kelly Poppinga. We ran that yesterday.
Well, they've reduced media access, but they've increased, or it has been increased, when they do have it.
Those times you can talk, you can really talk. And you can get one-on-ones, in our case, 2-on-1s.
And nobody was there yelling last question.
Right.
Or
nope. Just let you go.
Wrap it up.
Nope. Yeah. Let you go. Do your thing. But you're right. It is cut back from the old days when you were at every minute of every practice and watching everything and all the trick plays and saw coaches going after kids, in some cases cussing them out. You saw every fight in practice and every injury in practice and all that stuff's under wraps.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's been one after another over the years, and that has changed completely. For me, I don't mind that it's changed completely. It doesn't really matter to me, but I enjoy talking. Not the group interviews do nothing for me. And because everyone's got stuff they got to work on, and if that's all they provide, particularly the beat people, they need to feed that beast every single day. And so I'm very cognizant of that. But I enjoy talking with athletes or coaches rather than what I would say interviewing them. Just
you peel back when you get the question, the follow-up, and the follow-up to that, you peel back the layers of the onion, and you learn a lot more. On. Yeah.
And most coaches and players, they're comfortable in talking in that way.
They confirm what you suspect, or they tell you stuff you don't know, and really about the sport and the game.
Right.
Deeper knowledge.
And what they're thinking, what their mindset is. And I'm not looking to burn anybody and gotcha and all that stuff. That's long since gone out of the way. I'm just looking to cover your team, get some information, and pass it on to the fans, because the fans enjoy that. They enjoy conversation. They enjoy listening to that type of stuff. And so I like to do that whenever I can, whenever I'm allowed to.
You can't give up too many details. Obviously, A-Rod can't say what part of the game plan where Bachmeier isn't going to run and what part where he is going to run.
Well, they got to figure that out as they go. I think now that's more general of what their plans and agenda are.
But I think that for people who are trying to continue their employment in the coaching profession, there's multiple ways you get judged. One, obviously, you got to win, right? Now, if you don't win, what is the plan? Have you got a plan that will trend you towards more winning, whether you're trying to get from 4 wins to 7 or 7 to 10 or, deeper into whatever your postseason structure is, depending on your sport, college or pro or whatever? What is the plan? Are you progressing? Because people can stick with some hard times and some setbacks if they see a plan and they see progress and see a building something. It's when you don't win and you don't have a plan, or the plan just goes like crazy and it has no chance. Or Sacramento, the Kings are changing coaches every 65 games. There's no plan. And then that's when people lose their jobs. So I think most coaches, they know this. They want to lay it out. Here's what I'm thinking. If it doesn't pay off right away, it's going to pay off. And so when you can get those talks going and delve deeper, you learn a lot. You see what the plan is. It's interesting for the media. It's interesting for the people. It protects the coach a little bit. I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to win.
Yeah, and I think both these programs are going to win. I think Utah State's going to win not sure about their level, but I trust Bronco to build a program because that's what he does.
It's hard to know in a new league with programs that have been scrambled. Yeah. There's nothing to go by. It's a little bit of a blindfold going through it.
As far as the new Pac-12, the one thing that it looks like is Boise has reestablished itself. And they were awesome, and they went through a little slip, but it seemed like to a good degree they're back. So in my mind, they're the team to beat. We'll see how that plays out. And then the other two, especially this time of year, fans want to know about your team. And it doesn't really matter what team you are. That's why these .com people and these internet people have been able to carve out, because they jump in and go crazy. And they mostly present it from a positive perspective because they are fans of the team. Those are just facts. 95% of those .comers are fans, and they want the team to win. I don't really care if they win. I want them to win, but I don't take any personal joy. The Devils beat the U of A. I take personal joy. BYU beats Utah. Utah beats BYU. I don't take personal joy. I'm just looking for a storyline. And we usually have those storylines, and that's a lot of fun to cover that. And I think that's what fans just want to be brought in and to be able to learn about their guys, their gals, whoever it might be. So we'll continue to progress along the camp like that. Week 1 is already over almost. And once we get to week 2, then when that's over, this time next week, then we're only 2 weeks away from games. And that's pretty sweet.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then it's on, and there's a lot of fun in that way. To follow that, to follow your team, and now especially for BYU, and then to be able to follow the other teams because it matters. I think that's what they missed for those 12 or 13 years, but that's over now, and so now you get to follow these other teams and see how you relate to them and interconnected and what's going on. And once we get to that, And then the crazy thing, once we get to that, we enjoy that, and it's over because it goes so fast.
3 months, soak it up.
Yeah.
The playoff has turned into a 4th month, but that's different because not all the teams are playing. And then do we have a dog in the hunt or not? Or are we just kind of watching at a distance?
Yeah, neither of these teams have won the conference yet. Not the regular season, not the title. And that's got to get done.
Not going to give BYU that 4-way co-championship, huh? A share of the quad in the regular season.
But they didn't get into the thing.
They didn't. They didn't get the tiebreaker. They got them in. It's true.
I mean, you can claim that, but I don't even think they're claiming that.
No.
And plus, claiming that, it doesn't really get you anything. Because the overriding thing is the good thing is they don't need to claim that because they have a good program and it is in a good spot. That's more important than claiming a 4-way tie. In a convoluted way. And I still, to this day, don't know how they chose the 2 teams that went in. And it doesn't matter anymore because it's 2 years old. But these teams need to get a regular season and then, of course, a conference title unless you get a playoff bid.
I was going to say, find a way to the playoff.
Then neither of those teams matter. Neither of those things matter. But I don't know that can happen without one of those two happening.
It doesn't look like a 2-loss team can get in. So your only path right now, the only obvious path to the playoff is to go 12-0 and lose a conference title game. Under this scenario where you don't have the conference title, I guess you would have the regular season title. If you were 12-0, you'd have at least a share of it. And then get in at 12-1. Because BYU just showed if you're 11-1 and then you lose the conference title game, you're 11-2. Are you getting in? Maybe you could if your losses were better. If they lose to Notre Dame at home 24-23, and then they lose a conference title game to, let's say, Texas Tech runs the table because they don't have to play Utah or BYU.
But it better be a close game.
And if they lose to Texas Tech 28-27 and you got 2 one-point losses, okay, there's an argument maybe you can get in.
I think there's an overwhelming argument to be made.
Because you added it up, like 63-14 last year when there are 2 losses.
That's what sticks in my mind.
Yeah, if you lose 2 games by 7 touchdowns, now if you lose 2 games by 7 points. Right.
They were not competitive.
They were not.
No. So you have to play a competitive game irregardless of the score. And that's what kept BYU out, or at least from receiving serious consideration, is that both losses were not competitive.
I do wonder how competitive they had to be to throw elbows and get past Notre Dame and Alabama and Miami. And those teams, we know they have bigger brand names.
I think we know what competitive is.
And we all think those brand names matter. And we can say whatever we want about Notre Dame and Alabama, but Miami proved they belong when they got there. They won 3 playoff games and went to the title. So it's not like the committee picked a lousy team. I mean, they can only pick so many teams.
Yeah, but that's 2 different things. I don't think they're picking teams because they think they'll win.
No, they're trying to pick the 12th. They know they're going to pick teams that are going to lose. I mean, if 4 of the teams have to lose the first game, you're picking teams, did they earn it? I think Miami had a good case.
But you don't go on the fact that they won after the fact. That's 2 different things. That's a bonus. That makes you
and that
look
is what
good,
it is.
but
It
that's
is a bonus.
that shouldn't go into it. How will they play in the playoff? Because if that were the case, why did we have Tulane and James Madison in?
Well, we're not going to have that again, and that's because of the rules, and they're changing the rules. And the ACC didn't help us with their convoluted how do you get into the ACC title game, back to your how do you get into the Big 12 title game when there's a 4-way tie and nobody really knows. Miami should have been in that conference title game. I think they would have won it. Then there's only one ACC team in. They can go do their thing, and there's another spot for somebody else.
Which would have been Notre Dame.
Yeah, probably, yes. You're right.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the deal. I understand that if you're tied with Notre Dame, you're losing the tie.
Unless you've beaten them in Provo in October.
Well, then you're not. You're not tied.
Then you got a chance.
You're not tied. If you're tied,
if you're both 11-1, if you both have 1 loss,
Notre Dame is going to get the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. It's a TV show. It's entertainment.
The power of the brand name is not discounted. We all know it.
And who is going to appeal more? It's not sport at that point. It's entertainment. It absolutely is entertainment.
And it's business.
Which is entertainment.
Yeah.
It's the same word.
Cash on the bottom line, baby.
Which is why I've accepted a long time ago, sports is nothing more than entertainment. It is a television show.
Well, it's not entertaining when your team has a less than, fair shot, logical shot, whatever word you want.
But it was a good thing for BYU that Notre Dame refused to play in the bowl game. Because that became an enormous story.
It did.
And then that's going to trigger more change, which is going to help you, and it's going to help Utah, and on and on. So by Notre Dame, anybody who criticized Notre Dame for not taking their ball and go home, you're stupid. Because that actually is going to help you, not hurt you.
You can connect the dots. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You just did. And that's why we've got is it 16 or is it 24? And back to its business, the SEC's got their hands on their hips. It's 16. Well, that's because that's what ESPN wants. And they got a huge contract with ESPN, and ESPN doesn't want to open the thing up to bidding and have Fox take a bunch of the games. And meanwhile, the Big Ten's got to deal with Fox, and they're over there 24 because Fox wants to open it up. And
it will. The pressure will mount, and it'll get done. I mean, it took forever to get a BCS, and it took forever to get
to 4.
A 4.
To get to 2, to get to 4, to get to 12.
When it seems so obvious.
Steve Spurrier dropped the line. What do you think about 4? I like it. I'll like 16 a lot more when we get there in a couple of years, but I like 4.
And it took a long time to get away from the UPI AP vote that would come in, 2 days later or what have you. I mean, it seems so silly now, but that's the way it was. And we enjoyed it. And the vote, what was the vote going to be? It seems so ridiculous.
ESPN has a story up on the public enemy number 1 for every Power 4 college football team. And I looked at it, your Sun Devils, 1975 AP poll voters. Because you voted number 2 when you went
they can rot.
12-0. Exactly.
They stole it. Went 12-0, beat Nebraska. Not that I was a fan back then, but so what?
So what? Yeah, but in retrospect, you're like, hey, years later, that was wrong. You love this, though. Public enemy number 1 for Arizona? Frank Cush. And then they got a whole story on that. They write a paragraph. They wrote one for BYU. The Bowl Alliance.
Yeah, the Bowl Alliance. That was, Ed Lavelle said it's their party. They can invite whoever they want to invite to. Yeah, but in the end, what difference does it make? BYU went, what did they go, 14-1?
They did.
Yeah, you went 14-1. And so somebody did this or that. And Utah in 08 went, what did they go, 13-0? And somebody didn't vote. Screw them.
Yeah.
I would take that every time. As a Sun Devil fan, if the system stayed the way it was, that they go undefeated and some ding-dongs rank them number 2. So what? Who cares?
All right, so I did Arizona State, Arizona, and BYU. Why am I doing the Utes last, PK?
I don't know why.
Because it has something to do with you.
Something to do with me?
They don't put your name in the story. Utah Utes. Public enemy number 1, Max Hall. After leading BYU to a win against Utah in 2009, QB Max Hall didn't hold back his feelings about the Cougar rival. Quote, I don't like Utah. In fact, I hate them. I hate everything about them. I hate their program, their fans. I hate everything, Hall said. It felt really good to send those guys home. Most neutral observers can chalk up that infamous rant as something that came in the heat of the moment, but it still stands as a singular instance to demonstrate how vitriolic this rivalry can get.
I regret asking him that question.
Kyle Bernagura wrote that up.
And then when he asked me, do you really want me to go into it? I should have said no.
Never
For the sake of our community and the division that the subsequent answer will create, I'm going to say no. How do I find myself in the middle of these things?
I don't know. It's just magic happens. How else do you explain it, man?
Magic happens.
Thank you.
Magic happens.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We hit on a few other things. Boston Red Sox, you were You enjoyed that. They rallied in the 9th to tie the game. They rallied in the 10th to tie the game. They rallied in the 11th to tie the game. They rallied in the 12th to tie the game. They won in the 13th inning, 12-11. They are 31-5. So they're using up all their luck, right? They're about to take some L's now. This has gone on long enough. Revert to the mean. Law of numbers. That was an outrageous way to win. Don't they have to lose I don't know, 3 of the next 5?
Well, you can argue that they already did.
Something. And I think that's how you explain it at the start, but it's gone on a bit long now. 31-5. Awesome.
They're thinking win the freaking division.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Get yourself out of that best 2 out of 3 roll of the dice.
I knew all along that core was the problem.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was obvious. Get rid of that bum.
All right. They're 5 games back. They got a little more than a month and a half to go. So There you go. All right, DJ and PK, shout out to the local guys. Keaton Slobus, 9 of 10, threw a touchdown pass in the Hall of Fame game. And the former Brighton High star, Simi Fa'oka, from Albion Middle School, a student of one Jackie Kinahan. He had a 5-yard touchdown catch in the game. So
don't forget about Miles Davis, formerly of Utah State and BYU. He had a big day rushing, too.
Yeah, Miles Davis had a big run.
What were his numbers?
I think he had somewhere 70.
Well, he had the big run.
Yeah, he had one big run. I think he had some at 70, some at yards. But former Aggie and Cougar himself.
I don't know what it means in terms of. I hope they all make them, but
you'd rather do it than not, but it doesn't lock you in. Yeah, 36-yard run, 4 carries, 53 yards. DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next. We got the poll questions up. When do Utah and BYU lose for the first time this year? What are the chances they could be 8-0 when they play each other? We'll get to that. Get your reaction to that next. Stay with us. Join Scotty G and the coach Tuesday, August 11th at the ballpark at America First Square with Mountain Supplies Customer Appreciation Day. They'll have swag, knowledgeable vendors, food, raffles, batting practice on the field. Bring a glove and a mini golf tournament. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you there, August 11th. All right, PK, you put the question up on our Facebook page. When will Utah lose for the first time? When will BYU lose for the first time? The thought that they could both be 8-0 when they meet each other in early November seems unlikely, and yet somehow, you're saying there's a chance. For the Utes, 20% of the people think they're going to lose to Kansas. Game 5 will be their first L. 20% also think it'll be Houston, Game 7. 6% think they're going to lose at Cincinnati, Game 8. 52% will say it'll be another game. And I suspect most of those 52 are thinking it's the BYU game. As far as the Cougars, when will they lose for the first time? 29% think Game 2 against Arizona. 8% say Game 4 against TCU. The leader with 39% of the vote, Notre Dame, Game 6. But a quarter of the people are thinking it'll be another game, and I bet those people are thinking, 8-0.
Well, they have great starts then, obviously. I think both programs will have good starts.
If I told you it was going to be a 7-1 team against a 6-2 team, you'd sign off on it right now, wouldn't you? Because that seems probable under your theory of the field and stuff happens.
Yeah. But for BYU, what are the losses? Because if I have two conference losses, no.
No, it's Notre Dame. Under that scenario, I would say they lose to Notre Dame, and somewhere along the line, something happens.
I think that's conceivable.
For Utah, I would say Houston, and then something else happens. If they were 6-2.
I don't know. Oh, 6-2. Okay.
If they're 6-2, that's why. They lost to Houston, and somebody else got them. I mean, we've always talked about it. You turn the ball over 3 or 4 times, you can lose to just about anybody.
Those records you post are hypothetical, obviously, but they're also plausible.
I think 7-1 and 6-2 are in the super likely range. And maybe they're both 7-1. It's the only time that I think either one of these teams is going to be an underdog is when BYU plays Notre Dame. I expect Notre Dame will be favored in that game. I think most of us expect that. Then elsewhere, you have games where, you're favored, but maybe it's 4, it's 6, it's 7, whatever.
That TCU game for BYU.
Okay. We'll see. I would expect that's the thing where I'm thinking it's a small point spread. And, if you're favored by 4, they're favored by 3, well, anything can happen. Now, not a lot of people are pointing at that as loss number 1. 8% of the vote. And I guess some people may be thinking they're going to lose to Arizona. I got to say, I'd be surprised if BYU was 2-2 coming out of the gate.
Sure, but it's also not unrealistic either.
They could be 2-2 and finish 9-3.
That Arizona game, man, I'm concerned about it for BYU. I just think that U of A is going to be good. Now, if you lose that game, though, I want to make sure that it's understood that it's not you haven't lost what your goals are.
If they lose that game, no, I mean, then we'll just point back at that year that Utah lost relatively early, not that early, but relatively early to USC and ended up going 11-1. I mean, doesn't end everything.
No.
The thing is,
but it would be a big
and
come down.
Arizona, can that offense put a lot of points on the board and win the game?
They can strike at any time.
Don't you think that defense is going to give up a lot of points? Isn't there a lot of work to do there? Didn't they lose a lot of guys?
For what's interesting about the U of A is that historically they've had really good defensive backs for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And when I was working down in Casa Grande, there was a kid who went there and ended up playing in the NFL. Randy Robbins, I think was his name. They've had real good defensive backs, and they did lose all of them, and so they've got to reload. But every team has some form of issue.
True story.
Yeah.
Who's the slam dunk? I mean, it may be a high bar. Oregon only loses to the team that wins the national championship. Well, you're in the Big Ten. You're going to have those games you have to win. And they haven't been able to pull it off. They've come close. I think 25-3 over the last 2 years. Awesome.
That's a dangerous game. It's not a trap game. It's just a dangerous game.
Yeah, it's not a trap game. It's out. It's wide open. It's game 2. Game 1's a money game, and it's game 2. There's no trap about it. It's at home. You don't have to go there. You know they got a quarterback back. It's easy to cut clips and make sure the whole team respects him, but they probably
5 weeks from tomorrow
already know.
I am certainly fired up for that game. I love the fact that SC bailed, so then Notre Dame got on the schedule, and then they moved a conference game earlier.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I think there should be more conference games week 2 and 3. Not week 1. Let them have their shakedown cruise. But it's one of those deals we complain when TV puts its thumb on the scale. I'm like, why doesn't TV put its thumb on the scale there? You need more good games week 2 and 3.
Because maybe they have enough intersectional games. Like, for instance, week 2, I know you got Texas Tech and ASU, or A&M, I should say, and you got the big game is Michigan, Oklahoma.
They need so many games for so many TV windows. I just think they can move a few more. I mean, Michigan, Oklahoma is great, and we'd watch it anyway, and we'll certainly watch it now that Kyle Whittingham and Jay Hill and
But I don't
Becker
think
there.
a week or so is going to make a big difference in TV contracts.
Squeeze every last dollar out of it. Let's go.
I think they are.
All right, we're out of time. Enjoy the weekend. School's bearing down. You're just recounting that, PK. Teachers heading back to work. Students are going to follow them a little after that.
Yeah, in that regard, it's down to the final week.
Yeah. All right, enjoy the weekend. Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe up next right here on The Zone.